Welcome to Dead Drifters Society.
Yeah, well, I guess welcome to the show, Jason Miller. How's it going?
I appreciate it, brother. Thanks for having me. I appreciate, man, learning about the Dead Drifter Society.
Oh yeah, well, we can run through that again.
Yep.
We've been having technical difficulties, so
It's probably me, man. I'm bad luck.
no, no,
I'm bad luck.
it is. Yeah, so Dead Drifters Society. Basically, like I said, I wanted to start a podcast through the life coaching that I was getting at the time. They suggested it. The guy that I was had as a life coach, he suggested it for me, and then I kind of went through, an insane amount of names, and of course, the wife, because she's so good with names, was like, "Well, why don't you do like Dead Drifters?" or Dead Drift podcast or something like that. And I basically shot it down real hard. It was like, no way. And then a few days later, I revised all the names for the podcast that I'd come up with. And I just saw Dead Drift. And then I was like, Dead Drifters. That's basically what we do. And then I kind of wanted to incorporate like society because we're all in it together.
Sure.
And obviously bringing people together is a lot cooler than pushing people away. So yeah, Dead Drifter Societies. There's like some bigger behind the scene dreams, I guess, in the sense of like we're 5-10 years from now, if this is still a thing, then I would like a bigger thing.
Hell yeah, man. That's awesome. I mean, man, we all got to have dreams and chase them. Yep. I mean, it's you ain't got goals. What's kind of just standing in place, brother.
Seriously. Yeah. Well, as far as you, Jason, how did you get into fly fishing and getting to tying flies?
Man, I got into it early. Like I said, I grew up in Eastern Oregon. Dad, grandpas, both sides of the family, everybody fished. Okay. So I fished the heck out of everything I could when I was a kid. It didn't matter what it was. I just liked fishing for them. And as a kid, where I'm at now is I'm kind of more of a steelhead fly tire fisherman than pretty much anything else. But growing up, I didn't have access to them, so I read a lot of books and articles and stuff about steelhead. I fell in love with them. But I never got to catch one until I was 14, man, and it took a long damn time to finally get one.
Yeah, and
it was rough.
Was that on gear or was it center pin?
No, it was on gear. I think I probably went literally 2 or 3 years of steelhead fishing pretty heavily with my dad. My dad could catch them, and I could watch other people catch them. I just could not catch one. And but we grew up as a gear fisherman, man. We were kind of opportunistic, bass and crappie are what I grew up on. You're up on Vancouver Island, right?
Yeah, correct.
So you probably don't have much access to bass or anything like that, like warm water fish. We have a lot of trout over there too, but because it's probably a little bit warmer water, they're big. Like growing up, if you weren't talking 20-inch trout, 24-inch trout, we didn't really give a shit.
Yeah.
That was just the way it was. It's kind of a high desert where I grew up, so it's kind of the summers get real warm, but the winters are kind of harsh. But the springs and falls are prime time for catching really, really big trout. So that's kind of how I grew up. But man, my grandpa, my dad, both my grandparents, I mean, that's just what I did. I I kind of grew up different. I kind of grew up really small town. Um, in Eastern Oregon, I grew up a little town called Prairie City. Um, to this day, I think the population is like 800. But even then, most of it's like farms and ranches outskirts of town. You know what I mean? It's not like in town. The town, there's not a stop. There's not a stoplight. I don't think there's a stop sign, and it's like, I don't know, quarter mile long, and you're out of the town.
Hilarious. That's
You know?
yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that's kind of where I grew up. So, and when I grew up over there, family was super tight. I hung out with my cousins, my aunts, my uncles. We all were around the same area, grew up a real close family. And I mean, all of us fished and hunted. That's what we did. If we weren't in the woods fishing or hunting, I mean, there wasn't much we weren't doing. We cut firewood. We deer hunted, scouted for deer and elk, fished. I mean, we were picked mushrooms, all that stuff. Like my whole childhood was in the woods. But then my dad hurt himself pretty bad working in a mill, and we had to move to a big city, Portland. So, I mean, Portland, Oregon, I don't know how many millions of people live there compared to my 600 person town. I never really fit in Portland, but I would still like to fish and hunt. Um, but the access to Steelhead, anyways, I got it.
Yeah.
And once I got it, man, I got it bad. I got it real bad.
Yeah.
it was my kind of living in Portland. Literally, you're an hour drive from Steelhead every single day of the year.
Yeah.
And when I going through high school and before I moved to Bend, I mean, I was fishing a lot every weekend pretty much. And then like in high school, shit, man, I was skipping school. I was going. I was gone. I think I went something like 7 years, where I didn't get skunked steelhead fishing.
That's beautiful.
But at the same time, when I grew up, it was kind of, I don't know if you know anything about Oregon. Like you have the Columbia River system.
Hmm.
That's the largest steelhead run on this planet. You know what I mean? Like every steelhead that goes up to up to Columbia is going up Hood River, Deschutes River. I could just name the Oregon rivers, John Day River, Clearwater River, Idaho. All those fish got to come up to Columbia River. Grand Ronde. There's just so many infamous, famous rivers that are connected to the Columbia. So living in Portland, I had so much access to so many steelhead all the time. I mean, right there in Portland, you got the Sandy, ain't very far away, Clackamas at that time. And growing up, it was kind of when there was just tons of fish around because all the hatcheries were producing tons and tons and tons of fish. It was insane.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
I definitely was not skipping school for fishing, but I sure wish that that was an option and that I knew that.
Right. Yeah. Some of my best friends, man, growing up in high school and stuff, I met in senior hall. Like I literally walk. We had at Beaver High School, we had a senior hall, and I'd walk down there. Anybody want to go fishing? And someone would say, "Shit, let's go." And I'd be like, "Look, my house was 2 blocks away. I will grab my stuff, grab your stuff, let's go." And I mean, we became really good, tight buddies, and fished all the time.
Yeah. I like that because that's definitely when you would, you know, oh man, less cares then. Now we got jobs.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. kids, wives, family, fucking responsibilities, man.
Whenever I hear someone talk about going fishing all the time, I'm like, yeah, that sounds really nice. I like that.
Yeah. I feel you, brother.
I'm going swinging tomorrow, and my buddy called me and he's like, dude, it's been raining up here all day. And I was like, oh no, what do you mean? How?
Right.
And like I saw that there was rain in the forecast, but I kind of like just been busy the last few days. Like I said, I got two extra kids in my house right now, so we have a house of 4 right now, and it's not bad, but obviously I wasn't
Oh yeah.
on the normal.
Stressful.
Yeah.
It's stressful, brother. It's stressful.
No, it has been good, but yeah. So when he called me and was like, "Dude, it's been raining all day," I was stressing, and then I messaged a few people, but then I was also thinking in my head, I was like, "Well, I still want to go. I don't care. Like, I'm going.
Right.
My one
Yeah.
day a week if I get it." And the weather's fine, and it's always like it's a Friday. I'm getting off work.
Yeah.
Was fishing, and like at the forecast, and all I see is like rain. And
Yeah. Well, brother, I
so,
get it.
but we're
I
going.
get it.
We're going. River seems to be holding out. I keep checking this river app furiously to make sure that I'm going to survive.
It's on the rise or on the drop?
It's on the rise. I know.
Barely.
Oh no, it's going. It's going.
Damn it.
It's trying.
Man,
Nothing.
man,
It's nothing crazy. That little.
oh no.
It's
Yep.
very minute. But that system also takes it doesn't dump quickly. It takes a while. It's like lake fed, so when it gets up, that being,
Oh, that's good. Yeah. That's really good.
it can still be really good.
Yeah.
And I know that I could do some other things to try to catch them, but I just want to do it on the swing this season. I got 6 grabs last year, and 4 of them for sure full nice hookups, and lost every single one of them. So,
Man, that's they brother. Yeah, no, that's Steelhead. Did they rip the shit out of your hands, or did they do that?
two
See what I
2 of them were directly downstream as it was done its swing, sitting there, and I got
oh,
a grab. One of those ones stayed on and did a bit of a run downstream and then just came straight at me.
yeah yeah.
And then a few mid swing that started freaking out, and then just gone. And I was doing so good. It's only, I guess this is my 6th season steelheading. And my first I got 1, my second I got 2, my third I got 3, my fourth I got 4, and then my fifth I lost 6.
Man, yeah.
I figured out how to keep these guys on. I literally, in the time that I was landing them, which is a crazy idea to me to think right now, but when I was landing them, I only lost 1, and
Right.
It was good. And then we got the humbling year that reminded that we got to work on more.
Well, man, that's just Steelhead.
I know.
That's what I love about them.
Yeah. Yeah.
About all the other fish that I fish for, like all of them, bass, any of the. I mean, even you get to the salmon, coho in particular, they roll. They're rolling fish, and I mean, half the time I've caught a coho, if you hook them and they roll so much, they wrap themselves in a line, and you get like a minute fight, and then you pull them in, and they're all wrapped. And I'm like, I wish they could just whoop my ass.
Yeah.
Chinook are kind of bulldogs, they kind of like, hey, fuck you, everything's super tight, and you can't move them until you work them around enough. I mean, yes, they'll take runs and they'll kind of splash on top, but once you're really tight to them, you got them. Steelhead are just complete different, dude. Like you said, it's 1 minute they're just ripping line, next minute they're at your feet, and you think you lost them, and all of a sudden, I mean, I can't tell you how many times where it's like, shit, I lost him. And you're just reeling up your slack or whatever, and all of a sudden it's tight and it's at your feet, and all of a sudden it jumps. You're like, oh shit, I still got it, and then it spits your shit. You're like, what the fuck just happened?
Man. And that one that I was saying that like ran straight at my feet, the first one of the season too, and it was one of those moments where, and I've said this on the podcast before, but you haven't heard it, so you need to hear it. It. Oh, you good?
Yeah, hang on just one sec. My son just handed me his iPad to charge it.
Oh no,
I got it, buddy.
no worries.
You got kids, you know.
Oh, I know the story. I sometimes will hear mine come down the stairs all quiet before, and he'll like sneak down, and I'm like, here we go. But yeah, so I cast it out, and I was like, that was a beautiful cast. Everything landed the way I wanted it. Right angle, beautiful.
Yep.
Then it just started digging, and I was like, oh man, look at it dig. Like I literally remember thinking all these nice things. And I was like, and then I remember like it was digging, and I like looked up for a second, and it was just beautiful scenery. I was like, man, just so happy and lucky to be here. And then
Right.
looked over, and it was just finishing its swing, and I was like, oh man, I'm just going to let it sit there because it's a deep pocket. So I just like let it sit, and then all of a sudden it was like grab, and I was like, no way, it's happening. You know, like it was
Yeah.
kind of slow motion. It was like a build. It was like, you know, all these parts took place, and then I was like, oh my god. And I was like, don't fucking move. And I felt him pull again, and like kind of like almost a double head pull, and so
Uh-huh.
I, like lifted my rod gently to like the side, and next you know this thing just starts erupting. My buddy's next to me, and my raft is like far down, and it has the net, and he just bolts right away. And like I'm staring, I saw the thing, and I was like, oh
Mhm.
shit, like that's a sizable fish right there. And yeah, then it just like ran at me. Everything was soft. I'm freaking running back, stripping as fast as I can, hoping for, you know, whatever I can hope for.
Catch up. Hoping to catch up. That's all.
It's tight, and I'm like, yes, I'm still on.
Yep.
And then I realized that it's not, and I'm on a branch.
Shit.
And I was
Yeah.
so like through all that, it spat it. It probably went and had a coffee by the time I was realizing what was going on. Um, yeah, and my buddy gets there all fucking out.
Right.
Are you still on? And I'm on the branch, and I was like, yep, yep, yep.
Yeah.
Like, get the position, and I lift the branch, and he's like, are you kidding me? And I was like, no, that was a steelhead. And then he was like, saw something thrashing. I knew it. And I was like, it was a tough one, but I like it was the first season I used classic flies, and by classic, I don't tie classic. I tie classically inspired flies, I guess.
Me too, brother. You're good. Yeah.
I don't. I rarely follow patterns, but I'm for the classics. I'm more willing. But for everything else, I'm like, as long as I've seen a picture of it or something, I'm like, okay, I'm going to tie whatever my thing is, or
Of that, dude, and that's awesome, and that's what I think. I do the same thing. I do the exact same thing. Um, I I really appreciate the classics, and they inspire me. You know, with their look and character and all that stuff, and the heritage and everything comes. But man, I kind of got my own style, so I just kind of do my own thing with them.
yeah. The biggest
You
thing,
know,
the biggest thing I found for the tying the classics is going from like just tube flies and then like streamers and stuff like that. So you just need so much expensive feathers.
well, yeah, dude,
It's a whole nother book of worms.
yeah.
It's not book of worms, but either or works.
Hang on, my son's yelling. I don't want to. You want you guys to
Oh,
get
yeah.
out of the background. I'm gonna just shut the door.
This is
That's
like
all.
I'm pretty used to the loud kids, so
It's all good. He's got his brother out there, but I just didn't want everybody hearing him. He's my youngest is autistic, so when he kind of goes, kind of goes, what? Ask your brother, will you shut the door? I'm doing a video. Shut the door. Okay, ask your brother. Thanks, buddy. Needs a bath.
Yeah. Well, anyways, as far as tying flies, one of like my biggest things that I've kind of come around um just knowing is like when you're tying new flies or a new material or something, knowing how to actually lay it in just makes
Yeah.
like dramatic difference.
Um, feather prep is a huge asset to learn.
Mm.
Um, you know, all these feathers, every feather you have, man, I, I get away with using a lot of not super expensive feathers. I have some feathers, man, that are um incredible. But at the same time, man, if I zoomed around my room right now, you would go, "Holy shit!" Because of how many uh, boxes I have. I mean, I got 6 of them laying right here, the same box, and they're all like kind of color coordinated. It's just my organization of what I do. Um, but most of them were given to me.
Hmm.
Um, it, I owe a lot of people a lot of flies.
Yeah.
And I've given most of those guys flies, but I never feel it's enough. So for me, like this whole fly tying journey is, uh, how do you say it? A lot of people ask why don't I like tie flies professional. Sorry, see my mumbling professional because I'm thinking a little bit ahead of where I'm going.
Yeah, and
Um, what why don't I tie flies like professional? Well, one, um, I'll, my normal job, man, I get paid 30 something bucks an hour. I can't. A lot of times when I tie a fly, it's 2 to 3 hours to tie, if not 4, 5, 6 hours. I don't put any time limit on there. So I mean, it would never pan out.
yeah.
But being in this awesome community, there's a lot of friends I have where I've been able to. They've given me feathers, and I've given them flies, but I never feel like I have paid my debt. So that you give me 2 feathers, shit, you got flies for life. This guy gives me 2 feathers, fuck, you get flies for life. You know what I mean? It's like, if you need a couple flies, I'll tie them. But it's you can never really make money on it. But to me, it's more about guys like-minded and enjoying what we do and learning and being able to help each other being better. A lot of the flies. Have you ever heard of Corey Bustard?
Corey Bustard. Hmm.
Yeah,
Doesn't sound.
it it's probably the most sought after feather in like classic tying. Doing married wings and stuff like that. This feather, like one fiber in between like tough materials to bind together in a marriage, this feather makes them stick. It is like Velcro. But literally, like I looked the other day, or I was on Facebook the other day, and a guy on one of the classic sites was selling a pair of bustard feathers, Corey bustard feathers. They're $500 a pair.
Oh,
I got I have like 30 pair of those, and they were gifted to me.
yeah.
So like that's what I mean by like our community and being able to. Uh, it brings us tight, but we all have a like-minded achievement of helping each other be better. You know what I mean? Like it's a very special group in the vast majority of people that I come in contact with, of always just trying to help each other be better at what they do, understand what they're doing. It's not even being better, just once somebody has a better understanding of laying feathers and manipulating feathers, you become a better tyer and you are more proud of what you're tying.
Hmm.
If that makes sense, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's it's just kind of a different game though when you get into the classic stuff, especially.
It is. Yeah, I feel like all the years of tying nymphs helped, but then when you get like you're trying to lay two feathers down and make them even on either side, like no,
Mhm.
it's tying nymphs or
Right.
is going really, you got an idea, but even Ryan Morgan, do you know Ryan?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he's me and him have tied flies together, and he laid down some information on how to do some of it, and just the little tips he gave me, it like yeah, it advances.
Way better. Yeah.
I'm not saying that after that point I could tie beautifully or they always laid down the way I wanted them to, but I at least have an avenue in my mind on how to actually go about it. Um,
Right.
so
Just having a little bit of understanding,
having some,
like because these feathers, a lot of them, they have different stems and stuff like that, and just someone who's tied one before can help. So a lot of times, it's literally just in the most minute way or minute technique. You're like, man, how come I didn't think of that? But at the same time, that is going to make me feel so much better and achieve the outcome I'm trying to get.
mhm. How do
You
you
know,
feel about like, if you tie a fly, obviously if it's like spinning in the water, which it usually doesn't do that, but like lays flat on its side or goes upside down, does that obviously our goal is not to have that happen with the classics, but do you stress about that kind of stuff?
honestly, man, here is the hardest part for my understanding of that as I've been tying flies. I'm what the hell's today, the 5th, right? I'm 26 days away from being 41 years old.
Nice.
I've been tying flies since I was 5.
Yeah.
The experience I have, like, so anytime you, the functionality of your fly is the utmost important thing that there is. If your fly is not fishing right, it ain't fishing. You're not, well, it's not that it's not fishing, man. You're fishing for a 1% fish out of 100,
Yeah.
You go, I mean, I've still had fish enough to where I know and I've walked up to a hole, first light, first cast, fish on, second cast, fish on. You just get into where you get these pods where these fish are super grabby. Anything I threw out there, if it didn't fish right, if it wasn't, if it was doing this shit, that steelhead was on a mission to grab. 99% of the other steelhead though aren't like that.
Yeah.
They have it's got to be have a functional fly where it's fishing right. If your fly isn't fishing right, you're you're not fishing well.
Mhm.
And that's our goal, you know what I mean? That's our goal as a tyer and a fisherman. I I've had the hardest time learning how to fly fish and swing fish for steelhead. A lot of it had to do with your line types for your rods and shit like that, because that's a whole nother game that it's way above my knowledge of yet. So I just talk to my guys who really know what they're doing. And I say, "Here's my rod. Give me a line," and da da da. Da. And man, I can shoot laser beams now. But if you're not fishing a fly well, what's the fucking point?
Yeah.
There's no point. And the most frustrated I've been learning how to swing was learning. I learned how to cast. I could cast really well, but I didn't have the right sink tips or heads or whatever you need to have that fly fishing right, or my fly not fishing right. If any of that's not in place, you're not fishing. There is no more satisfying thing than swinging a run, fishing it well, knowing your fly was down in the fish's face. The fish don't have to grab. I know that about steelhead. I love steelhead. I know how finicky and frustrating them fuckers can be. But if I'm swinging a fly well and presenting a fly well, that's all I can do. And if I'm doing that really well, I can be satisfied.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like, man, hey, he didn't grab. But every fucking cast I throw, every swing I swing, I'm expecting it the whole time.
yeah.
And when you're fishing like that, then that's all we can do. That's it.
Yeah. No, that was well, but I definitely like, I mean, obviously when you're swinging like a tube fly or something, there's not much to go wrong
Right.
of how the fly's, behaving.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But last year, I tied on, actual traditional steelhead and salmon hooks.
Uh-huh.
This year, I decided to tie them all on shanks with trailer hooks.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them don't sit right. They'll still like swim nicely, but they keel
Uh-huh.
upside down because of that. There's no bottom of the hook.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just food for thought because I was like, I wonder, I feel like
Do you,
in the
do you want to know? Go ahead, buddy.
well,
Go ahead. I'll call you say.
no, I was just going to say, I feel like if it was like, right in front of the fish's face, does he really know if it's upside down? Maybe.
Right, right.
And if it was upside down, would he be like, no? I'd be,
right.
you know what I mean? Or would
Yeah.
he be like, oh, you're upside down. I'll take you out of the food chain.
Right. Man, I don't think that does matter much. I just think it's more of the movement.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If your fly is fishing, as long as it's fishing, like it's just staying straight and kind of wiggling like this, but not doing a lot of this shit,
Mm-hmm.
the current does that to it.
Yeah.
But it still needs to be in that line. And I think that line, like if your fly is here coming down, it's this kind of wavy action. But as that current kind of lifts it and does it this shit, that's when they grab. It comes right down their face, and the current, that little boil lifts your fly up, that little seam that picks your line speed up. You get that cat like, it's like a fucking cat. It's down in my face, and it's trying to get away. Those are the grabs that I'm after.
Yeah.
Going back to the grab kind of things real quick was I've had so many steelhead grabs where everything just kind of stops. And that's like drift fishing, like gear fishing.
Yeah.
I fucking hate that grab for steelhead swinging. I'm happy a steelhead ate my fly. Don't get me wrong what I'm saying. It's just I always assume it's a rock. Always. And I'll lift up like shit, get it out of the rock, and it's like 2-3 head shakes and gone. Son of a bitch. I hate that. I want them. The best grab I've ever had swinging, I was up on the OP with my buddy Joel, and man, I was shooting lasers. My fly was swinging. I mean, I felt so confident, and I'd fished that way for like 2 days. And finally, I get to this run, and we fished it like 2 times before. And I think the third time we got to this run, like the water had just dropped perfect, man. And when my fly was swinging, I knew, like I felt it's going to happen any moment. And son of a bitch, it happened, bro. I like cast it, took my 2 steps downstream, like big ones. Everything just tightened up. My fly was just swinging, and I could barely kind of come off this ledge. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so you kind of feel like I could feel the bottoms, and you feel it not. And you're like, okay, I'm in the zone. And like literally 5 feet it was probably like 20 feet in the swing because I was shooting a really long line at a pretty steep angle. But I mean, it was just perfect, and it was like someone just shot lightning through my arm. I mean, it was just fish going ape shit, cartwheeling, and that fish she was 14 to 17 pounds. I only had her on for 3 or 4 minutes, but she jumped 6 times, and from the grab to the jumps to when she was unbuttoned, my reel never stopped taking line.
Yeah. Just
Yeah, exactly. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
And it was unreal. And the best part about it wasn't like like that, like pew pew. It was like bold. It was like when she grabbed, she jumped and like took line, like started running, then jumped. It was like there was like 10, 15 seconds between each jump. So I mean, it was incredible. That was the epitome of what I wanted to accomplish. We all want to land them, man. I want to land every one of them. But fishing these more classic hooks and stuff like that. Everybody I ever talked to about swinging flies say, "Man, it's not the best way to do it." All these long shanks are do those, either tube flies or intruders where you got that stinger hook. I gear fish, dude. I fish number twos, number one, Gamakatsu owner, just badass little same hooks we use as stinger hooks. I don't lose very many steelhead.
Yeah.
I don't, So I know that's a more effective way, but the grab and that what I experienced that with that steelhead is what I'm after. That's it. Yes, I want to touch them. I fucking love them. I love touching them. I love the smell of them. I love every part about them. But if I don't get to touch them, that's what I want out of it.
Yeah. I feel it, man. I was like, and that's the other thing I was talking to someone about was last year I was using all these long shanks. And yeah,
It's a different ball game, man. It really is.
It's like, oh man, that like makes it that much harder. But there is something cool about tying the fly and then like going, I mean, the I did more like authentic classic, let's say, and they worked. And then it was the first I ever used them, and then I got 6 grabs. I was like, well, there's the classic
for sure.
And it's comical that we tie all these crazy flies, and at the end of the day, like, well, what works? Well, these classics. You know what I mean?
Right. Oh yeah.
We're all tying these crazy big, like, whatevers, and the classics work very well.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of like I don't tie much of the newer stuff. I mean, intruders have been around a long time, but for me, they're still kind of newer. Do I fish them and do I tie them? Yes. I always put a few in there. They have their place, especially with the weight you can add to them, the dumbbell eyes you can add to them. You can fish them deeper. There's certain runs that you pretty much have to fish something like that to be fishing effectively. I have them in my box, brother. They're in there, but being able to touch like this is the fly. This is the fly that I hooked that steelhead on. It's on my desk.
Yeah.
There's a reason why it's on my. I mean, it's a GP. Yeah. GPs are my favorite. They are. There's something about GPs, but this is my own variation of a GP. It's not normal. It's not a traditional GP, but it's based off a traditional pattern. So you're kind of keeping up with the traditions, but I put my own flair into it. And this was, being able to have something of me and my own idea and my own creativity work means a lot to me. It added so much more enjoyment to it. Wasn't a store-bought fly that hooked that steelhead. It was something I came up with. Fuck, that's cool. I mean, that's fucking cool.
Yeah. Just nerds nerding out. It's cool, man. I swear it's cool.
Yeah, that's just what it is. So that's, being able to help people learn how to kind of manipulate feathers or the way that helps them tie something they like better only adds to their enjoyment of what they're doing. Hey, fuck, I'm fishing a fly that I am proud of that I tied, and I'm fishing it. It's fishing. Oh shit, it's grabbed. I got a steelhead.
Yeah.
What the hell's better than that, man?
Yeah.
Not a whole lot.
No,
not a whole lot.
I like every time spring comes around and steelhead are doing their spawning, and I have only gone winter steelhead. I've found summer runs, but I've never actually hooked them. So yeah, it's winter steelhead though. That's like pretty much how I started fly fishing in the river in a sense. I did some like fishing with like a dry line, or well, originally using a sinking line, a full sinking line, because I had no idea what I was doing.
That's normal, buddy. Like
Coming
when,
lake, and I was like, oh, river, sinking line
that's normal.
gets down, makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. Gotta let it roll, man. It's just it's such a huge learning curve to it, it really is, and I think at the same time we all individually have what feels right to us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like me and my buddy Joel. I mean, he's like my best friend. We tie a lot of flies together, and we fish quite a bit together. And we have very different perspectives of what we're doing out there. But at the same time, I can watch him enjoy him doing his thing his way, and I love it. Like, dude, he's on cloud nine. I'm fishing behind him or below him or wherever. I'm doing my thing, and I'm living. When I'm doing that, and I feel that way about what I'm doing, I know I'm where I'm meant to be.
Yeah.
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 And it's the same, and it's the same for him. And that's what it's all about. We all kind of got our own things about how we do it. So, man, just enjoy it. Shit, I don't care how you do it. Do it.
Yeah, get out there and actually do it. Yeah, it's you can just go on, but I guess our game plan today is to tie a fly.
Yeah.
We probably won't have all the same feathers because you have probably an insane amount of.
Yeah. But it's all good, buddy. That fly you sent me a picture of,
Yeah.
it's a Tinsel body fly. You can use basically anything. On the fly that we're talking about, you sent me the picture of. It's all the hackle is purple dyed grizzly. Pretty much, that's it.
And I got that. It's kind of why I picked it.
Oh.
I was like, I was looking at everything, and I was like, I could see what feathers were, and I was like, all right, well, that one I obviously have.
Hell yeah, perfect.
I guess another thing I wanted to talk a little bit on, because it's something that I've always just been like SP or Vivus families.
Oh yeah. Hang on. What, buddy? You need a charger? Throw me your phone. Go ask brother if you can use his.
So you're the charger man. That's what I've been.
That's right. Tristan. Yeah, I'm gonna shut my doors off. Go. Yeah, GSP, Vivus GSP is typically what I use.
Okay.
I like to use the real thin stuff, either 30 denier or 50 denier. On what I'm tying tonight is 30 denier, and there's probably seven to nine back and forth, kind of creating the shape. I don't know if you can see that. I hope you can.
Mm-hmm.
So, man,
I can kind of see that there's a bit of a. Oh yeah.
You kind of build it up, but you kind of see how it's very opaque.
Yeah.
Clear.
Mm-hmm.
That's the GSP, and I burnish it with an agate. I got a burnishing agate, and it keeps everything smooth. And what I really like about the GSP, man, I'm part of Lagerton's pro staff team. I've been with them for a long time. Their Tinsels are unreal. Ben lives up in your neck of the woods. Everything if you can get Lagerton's GSP, it's way better than anything else. What it does is it doesn't spin where like Vivas does. Like when you're wrapping, it kind of binds up and tightens. The Lagerton really stays flat, which just makes everything smoother.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've used silk a lot. Like, one of the things that I'm fortunate enough to have is, like I said, I have a lot of pretty high end materials. Like, I don't use like rayon floss. I don't use any of the other. All I use is silk. That's it. Um, and man, you can get Lagertons. You can get a lot of the Japanese stuff. They're all awesome. Silk though, lays very similar to GSP or Lagertons and lays flat. But it does two things. It allows you to really build up your body in the way you want it to. Like if it lays flat, it's thinner, but you can kind of twist it and make it a rope and get it thicker, so you can get that cigar shape a little bit faster. You know, but silk, ha- silk, steel, and like polar bear are like the three things that whether if I'm tying a hair wing, it's polar bear. If I dub a body, it's steel. If I'm using floss, it's silk. Those three things have such a natural shine to them that other materials don't have. You can get away with a lot of other stuff, man. There's a lot of other cool things to use. Like dubbing wise, I use a lot of the STS trilobal. I think it's hairline STS trilobal. It's a awesome material, and it's a synthetic, but it's very similar to seal. So dubbing it you get the same effect. The other thing, like silk, seal, and like polar bear, don't retain water a ton. So you get a really nice sink rate. You get more fishy attributes to your fly. You're getting it to do what you want it to do. It has a lot to do with, like we're talking about, having a fly that fishes better. Those type of materials have a better natural characteristics that allow them to sink well, not retain water, but have a lot of movement too, subtle movement.
Yeah.
And the natural sheen to them gives it a kind of a lifelike mimicky deal. When you see that stuff in water compared to everything else, you'll understand why. It's hard to describe, but it has just a different look, a more natural, lifelike look to it than a lot of the synthetics. You could have bolder colors, you can have other things, but it's steelhead to me are very natural, very anything you can do to appeal to their more natural traits, you have a better chance of catching them, in my opinion. So the more natural you can have your fly, lure, bait, anything look, the better the outcome is going to be.
Yeah. Okay, I can get down with that. Definitely, it makes sense what you're saying. So it's not like out of.
I hope it. Yeah, I hope it does make sense, because it's
Well,
man, there's a lot of thoughts up in the.
how natural fibers swim. Like I got
Yes.
polar bear. I got a lot of polar bear.
Mhm.
Once again, got it for dirt cheap, so that was sweet. But
Hell yeah.
the way it swims, I mean, clouser minnows and all that, and like you see the polar bear, and it just, I know, I definitely pick up what you're putting down.
Yeah.
I've never tied with silk, so we're talking about silk on like a bobbin.
No,
I haven't
I
actually,
just get spools.
I haven't, yeah, okay, on a spool, I mean, not a bobbin.
Yeah. You're good. So yeah, and then it's like tinsel. But when you're laying it down, man, it just has that natural. I mean, it kind of sparkles and kind of glows
Yeah,
compared to, and the everything looks great when it's in your vise and dry.
Yeah.
There's a big difference when you get it wet.
Yeah.
And silk has it holds its color better. It just, and it has a natural sheen to it that none of the other synthetics or any of the other flosses have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Fair enough. So I guess as far as what you've started so far, so you've worked up the shank up and down, but you've kind of created a bit of like a
just to build up.
looks like a
So
tiny doobie to be
yeah, yeah, and yeah. So a lot of guys, yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Fucking funny. That's the way I'd put it too. Because
yeah.
you're going for a cigar shape, kind of the more classic size, but this is more of a joint shape.
Yeah.
It's thinner, like you ain't got enough to jam it all in there.
That's the last of your allowance that got you that.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just, but using such thin thread, that's a lot of work, to be honest with you.
Mhm.
I mean, if you want to make it faster, you can use the thicker deniers, the 50 deniers or 100 denier.
Mhm.
It'll build up a little bit quicker. But you don't have as much control. Anytime you go thicker, you don't have as much control.
Mm.
But then all the thinner stuff, you have a little bit more control. So one of my biggest philosophies or rules in fly tying is thread control.
Mhm.
The more you have, the better, cleaner your flies are going to tie. Wow. While I got home from work and I was hanging out waiting to do this, this is what I tied.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay.
I'll send you some pictures of it, and it's half tinsel, well, like 2/3 tinsel and a third silk. But you'll see. I'll send you a picture. I sent it to my buddies um, of just the tinsel work and the silk work, and you'll see how there's not very much transition between the two. Like you can't really tell; they kind of are in the same line. So when you build these bodies up, that's your goal: is to allow, once you start doing whatever you're going to do with this body, you're going to have control of the thickness of your tinsel and the thickness of your silk.
Yeah.
Getting technical, huh?
I'm about to get my pen and paper out. I'm in class right now. Let's go. So
It's crazy. And here's the other thing with GSP.
Mm.
With GSP, and like if you're using any, most people use, I don't know, just your standard tying thread. Danville's is the most common one. I use Vivas. When I get up to my head, I'll switch to Vivas, and it's still though as thin as I can get. I get 16/0. I mean, it's super thin. I would rather have more smaller but more tight securing wraps than 2 or 3 big, thick wraps. If I can get 6 wraps for the same thickness I can get 3 wraps out of, I want the 6 wraps. And when you tie, going back to that, when you tie a built up body like this, like metal or any of the like Danvilles or thicker, even just the regular Vivas tying thread, if you were to do a base like this, the GSP will absorb.
yeah.
And so when you okay, I'm glad that makes sense because I was hoping it did.
Yeah.
Like when you tie something into it, it kind of sets down into it as to where more rigid material or more rigid thread doesn't do that. So anytime you tie anything into it, it really creates a bump
Mhm.
in your base of your body, and that's hard to overcome on tinsels or silk or anything. Dubbing, you can get away with anything. You can write whatever the fuck you want on there with dubbing. But when you're doing tinsels or like silk, man, that bump is a really hard transition to level out.
Yeah.
I hope that makes sense.
It does. Yeah, I do know what you mean by like it absorbs the next material. Like it does squish down into it. It's like memory foam for your shank.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
a lot more than other threads for sure.
Okay. Cool. So then, as far as what you've done, like looking at your little doobie esque fly there,
That's right.
yeah. Um, like where do I start from the head? If because like right now I got a hook. It's obviously a bit. It looks smaller than what you got going on, but it's there and it's in a.
What hook are you using?
So everyone always uses this is one thing I don't think I'll ever be able to pick up is like saying the hook size, but it's a size 10, 1.5 standard wire. Alec Jackson.
What number?
Oh, there you go. See, I don't even know what to say.
Like
21.
20. There you go. So it's black.
It's black.
No. Alec Jackson hooks, man, as a readily available hook. The Alec Jackson spay hooks, the 2051s, 20. I think the 2050s are bronze, and the 2051s black, and then like the 2052 is gold, and 2053 is blue. Any of the 2050s are the, in my opinion, my favorite over the counter hooks you can get readily. I'm using the Blue Heron number 3.
That means nothing to me, but I'll shake my head.
You're all right, buddy. They're very similar. They're very similar to Alec Jackson. Like I say, dude, I got Alec Jackson hooks out the ass. The back end is very similar. The difference, there's just mine are number 5s, I think, because I was getting ready to tie some summer. Yeah, these are number 5s.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the shape is very similar.
Yeah.
But the difference with the Alec Jackson and these Blue Herons is, so you can't see it, I can't zoom in, is the return.
Yeah.
The return on the Blue Herons is, the eye is a lot smaller and the return is a lot smaller. So, going back to, we're talking about that bump, I can build up really quick, and that transition where my return eye, I can cover it up and make it in sync with my thread wraps, where it's very hard with that.
Yeah.
But no matter where I start, brother, is that return eye, I start 4 or 5 turns up, and I start there and I work back and I tighten that return. That's my first thing I always do. And then I work my way back.
Okay, so I'll take this off. I'm just going to go step by step on what you said. How far from the eye do you normally start? I know on different flies, but like if we're tying,
It's the same.
Yeah.
I always do the same, brother. Dude,
always
when I got a return eye, like I said, I always start, an eighth of an inch, a 16th of an inch above the return, and I start working my way towards the back of the hook, and I secure that return.
okay.
Just like that. And then the other thing, this is a rule I live by, and I don't expect everybody. I don't tie fast flies. I'm not worried about speed. I'm more worried about how I want my fly to function. So every wrap I do is touching
Yeah.
tight. My rule of thumb is I make every wrap count.
Mm.
And that's why I say, like if I've done this down and back 11 times to get my joint shaped underbody, it was worth the 11 times to do it. But shit, that's 11 times where I got threat,
Yeah.
I'm gonna get carpal tunnel in my wrist.
Yeah.
But that's how I do it. But in saying that too, like I said, if you use any of the heavier deniers and you want to build up that faster, you can, for sure. It's a simpler way. I've even done where I know I want to tie my fly with 30 denier, tie everything in. I'll do a layer of 30 denier, and then I'll grab 50 or 100 and do a quick build up my body, and then I'll do once over with the 30 denier, so it's just nice and smooth.
Yeah. I Definitely picking up what you're putting down. Um, Makes sense, which is good because I'm wanting to do what you're saying and stuff. So that's good that
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
um
It's just a long, tedious process, man. It just is. I'm. It's hard for people to understand that it's just a difference and a preference that I have. A lot of people when they sit down at the vise, they want to crank out flies, and
mhm,
I get that, man. I mean, that's cool. Do that if that's what you want to do, but it's a different approach than what I take.
mhm.
I
Yeah,
would I would rather I always I always try to tie the perfect version of the fly that I'm trying to tie. It never works out. It never fucking works out. There's always little bumps and shit that I feel I could be better at, but that's what that's what I enjoy doing. Like it's other people don't enjoy doing that. I'm not an idiot. I do know that ugly, nasty bullshit flies catch fish. I tie ugly bullshit flies, but I don't enjoy doing that. You know what I mean? Like it's
yeah.
I enjoy the passion, the precision, the artwork, the all of the above, the whatever the hell you want to call it. I enjoy putting that in. I enjoy putting myself into that fly fully.
I like that. I That was something that 2 years ago, it was like my favorite thing to tie was tube flies because they didn't take 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I liked sitting there and spinning some concoction up and then, or in a dubbing loop and looking at it and being,
Yeah, for sure.
no, it's not good enough, and like cutting it off and making another blend of whatever I was about to go do. Um, but I think that's what kind of got me with the like classic style was one fly trying to just set a freaking wing could take me an hour. you know,
Oh,
it's not even a fly, just one wing, and like,
bro, yeah, no, man, uh, I have flies that I have literally 40 hours into.
here's a question for you because I'm kind of at that state. Have you ever tied a chronoman?
For sure.
Okay, so am I doing?
Fucking stupid flies. I hate those fucking things, but they work so damn good. Actually last year is the first year that I started tying them and fishing them, and I'm just like, son of a bitch, these things work so fucking good.
So good, so good.
Stupid. Uh,
Is it the same kind of thing? Because like looking at your, I
yes,
would say the
yes,
back end is the thinner. So like, do you wrap
yes.
down and then go back up all the way, and then back almost to the end, back up, and like,
I'll go. What I do is I typically, so like I kind of do the opposite. Like so, I'll go down a little ways and I'll go back, and then I'll go down and I'll go a little bit further, and
oh,
then I'll go back up, and
okay,
then I'll go down a little bit further. So once I start my fly and start my tag or tail or whatever I'm going to do, I'm at a base layer of basically one layer over the shank.
yeah, I'm going to not start over to achieve that, but I'm going to basically now do that and just play with it. I'm not expecting my fly to come out looking freaking like the best thing I've ever tied, but I'm more trying to kind of follow.
Learn, learn.
And then here for the Alec Jack, because of the way the return works and it comes so much further down the shank, uh,
Oh, it's thicker.
it's thicker.
It's it's so much thicker.
So much.
Like the blue heron, like it's a needle point.
Uh,
That return is like a needle point.
okay, now I pick up where you're saying. Um, would I stop at that, like, let's say the needle point and
Yeah,
keep going back down just because of that?
for sure. It'll build up that transition. Yes, a little bit faster. Yes.
Okay. And then once I get that transition almost the same thickness, then I can go back over to the very top.
There you go, brother.
Right.
See, you're learning. Like, see, just that's a simple thing that
Yeah.
a lot of people don't understand, but it's yeah.
Little things, little details. And I have a mad respect for a lot of things, but when it comes to tying flies, and I see, like, when I saw some of your flies, I was like, okay, this guy might know what he's talking about. um,
Well, and
but
you know, one of the funny things about like my whole tying journey and stuff like that is honestly too what I'm saying or what I'm teaching or trying to teach. Um, it's what I've learned. This is all I've experienced because when I started, you didn't have videos, you
mhm.
didn't have any of this shit. Like I, man, for the longest time, like I learned like looking at John Shuey's books and the pictures, and you would see where they do like it's all the threads here and they tied their tail in. There's so much in between that. There's so many fine details that you don't see because next picture is the dub the body forward. Okay, well, next picture is they dubbed it, or they did this, or how did they tie in the rib, or there's we have such an advantage today compared to everything I'm doing. I learned basically just from my experience.
Well, and
Um,
exactly, because I know audio of this is useful, but that's where I'm kind of like excited to break into the YouTube thing because I was like, you know, when people are tying flies and they're not necessarily like, yeah, they're teaching someone, but it's a audience they're teaching and they don't actually see the person tying the fly. I feel like there's a lot of questions that can come up simply from that. So I definitely would,
for sure.
and I've been before the winter, I was tying flies with people while recording podcasts, but not really about tying flies per se.
Yeah, just tying and bullshitting.
Yeah, and I had so
Yeah.
much fun. I enjoyed it quite a bit. So for me, it was kind of like, well, I could, you know, kind of implement this into my podcast,
Oh, yeah,
um,
for sure.
and not only have like an awesome episode where we just sit here and tie a fly, but also where through my
You're,
question.
you're, yeah, yeah, yeah. You're teaching and learning. Yeah, it's kind of a little bit of everything, and
Well,
that's kind of like yeah, and that's kind of like I said, I've done a couple other podcasts, but honestly, they were one was on some weird video room like this too, and it was a good buddy, but he was just learning how to do set up his podcast stuff, and I don't think he ever posted any of it. But the other ones I've done were all like just on the phone.
okay, yeah,
But I used to do a lot of like Instagram live videos.
okay,
Um, it's just harder, man. And when you do the Instagram live, basically the technical difficulties is what has made me stop because you get through it and sound like a robot. Shit's not working, and it just sucks. But um, it was really fun to do that, especially live, because people would pop up questions. I'd see them come up as I'm tying, and I could answer them. It was so much fun. Like I really, really, really enjoyed it. And a lot of times it was me and a buddy,
yeah,
just like you're saying. And me and my buddy would be bullshitting and cracking jokes with each other. And then someone would pop up a question, and you're like, awesome. Now I get to be able to help somebody else. So it's really cool to be able to do that.
yeah. And I think like there's just so much room for what we love doing and sharing. Uh,
Yeah.
so having like a good platform to do it on, or like like you're saying with the technical difficulties, I've been on Instagram Live and stuff, and yeah, people like drop out and all these things.
Yeah.
It's like it can be really frustrating. I mean, we even went through that for a bit trying to get this set up originally.
Right. Yes. Yes. Yeah.
I do this like once a week, so I know this program, and like that's why I sent you a new link because I was like,
Yeah.
it's not wanting to function. It's just giving me a hard time.
Yeah.
Um, one thing I'll say though, when you're working with GSP and you got like
Mhm.
a thread, and then a little section of that thread starts to walk off,
Yeah.
laying it flat,
You mean on your spool?
huh?
On your spool? on
No,
your spot
on
or
the fly.
yeah.
It just like starts to creep away. What's up
Spin
with
it.
that, eh? Yeah.
It's like a spider web, man. It just my biggest problem with the GSP, what you're saying, I'll once it starts really getting flat, I'll spin it just to tighten it up. Like that, like this.
So yeah, counter clockwise depending on what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah,
And how
but
back should I be going with my end of my
about an eighth of an inch or 16th of an inch above your hook point.
Okay. So make one more wrap just because I can.
All right. Can we take a break real quick? I got to piss really bad, buddy. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, buddy. I got to go pee. All right, it's all good, buddy. I'll be right back.
All right. So yeah, so far what I'm seeing from this whole thing is even while I'm wrapping all this GSP up and down, trying to make it smooth, there's a lot of little bumps. And one thing he said was he works with GSP like 30, and I'm working with GSP 100. So I'm definitely seeing what he was talking about, how it'll kind of start to clump up and create little grooves. So mine's not like perfectly smooth across. Obviously, I'm trying to counter that the best I can, but once it starts building that groove, it's kind of hard to drop out of the groove. But I am working on it, and I'm sure my mumbling will work for him because I don't know what I'm really talking about, but I'm trying. And yeah, so yeah, you can definitely get the bumps out a little bit if you really focus on them, but as far as I've been doing is really those tight wraps like he was saying. And he is back. Alive and well.
Sorry about that.
No
I'm good, buddy. Sorry.
no worries.
After work, man, usually I like to have a beer or two. I've had a couple beers, so sometimes you got to let it loose,
Gotta let it loose. Yeah, no, I feel it, man. I've been not really for any particular reason aside from just but I haven't been drinking. But my biggest thing about not drinking um is then what do you drink? And I don't always want to drink water. So now I'm on this like intense tea, just drinking tea. I drink like so much tea. No water. I should drink
Right.
water, but
Right. I drink a lot of water at work, thankfully.
yeah,
But
that's where I kind of sit too. Is like I drink most of my water at work.
and we got Kool-Aid in this household, brother.
Oh,
We're Kool-Aid, man. We're Kool-Aid. But and it's been a long first week of the year, tell you that much.
What do you do for work? May I ask?
I'm a delivery service manager. I'm a DSM for a drywall delivery company. So we run boom trucks.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So I run all the crews and take all the orders and deal with all the customers and schedule all the runs and
Yeah.
all that fun stuff. Deal with all the trucks, all our employees, and
So there was like a for the holiday season, and then you came back to work for all refreshed
yeah,
only to get your.
yeah, exactly. And it's starting to get cold, and man, it's just my job's a stressful job. Nothing ever goes perfect. It doesn't. So you're always problem solving all day long, and then, man, I do a lot. I do a lot more too. I load a lot of my trucks that come in when they come in the yard, unload a lot of the material that comes in. Man, it's just a stressful job. Just
Yeah,
stressful job.
I know what you mean. Just working is stressful. Not as stressful as watching a fly pop out of a steelhead's mouth, but
There's very few things that are. There's very few things, man.
yeah.
I going a story I got about that is this wasn't a fly, but I took my father-in-law down one of my favorite coastal rivers. Yeah, 10 years ago now, but he was getting into it, man. He at the time, right now I'm going through a divorce, but at the time, me and my wife, I don't even think we were married. Oh shit, it was 15 years ago, 16 years ago. I was with my wife for 14 years, so 13, 14 years ago. Anyways, he, living there, getting to know him, he wanted to really get into salmon and steelhead fishing and stuff. So had a buddy over there to let me borrow his boat. Took him down one of my favorite rivers, and it was just me and him. And man, we caught quite a few fish already, but we get down to this one hole, and the river was pretty high. I mean, it was dropping, but for the river, it was pretty high. And we get down, we're down to the bottom end of our run that we do with our drift boats. And man, dude, I hooked her on a sand shrimp. And damn, dude, this fish whooped my ass. I would easily say it was a half-hour fight.
Yeah. Wow.
And the water was just. I like to, whether any fishing I do, I kind of tend to fish lighter stuff than everybody. I just like it. I like to have, whenever I'm hooked up to a steelhead, I want to be going, oh shit, 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 oh shit. The whole time I'm hooked up. I love that. That's what I love about steelhead. You can do that. But anyways, I was fishing the sand shrimp, drift fishing sand shrimp, and man, I couldn't feel the bottom. But in this little back eddy where my stuff was at, this fish was on top, just gnawing the shit out of something. I'm like, "What? Do you see that?" He's like, "Man, yeah, I saw it." And I reeled it in. My sand shrimp was toast. It was gone. So I go, "That fucker was eating my shrimp." So I put a new sand shrimp on, threw it up out there, and then I could, all of a sudden, I threw a bigger mend in it. I love drift fishing because it is the most similar thing to swinging a fly as to feel what's going on than there is in fishing. Those two things. I grew up being a drift fisherman. I loved it because you catch a lot of fish doing it, and when you get good at it, you get really, really, really good at it. If there's a steelhead around, you are going to catch them. But the way I felt about it is the way I read people write about fly fishing. When someone wrote about fly fishing, like the grace and the feel and the intuit, like it comes from in here. I don't know how to other explain it than that. When I'm drift fishing, everything comes from in here. Like it's perfect cast, perfect bend. You're feeling it touch the bottom just at the right time. It's a complete feel. Swinging a fly is the exact same thing. It is the exact. There's a certain feel when you're in that feel and in that moment. You know you're fishing.
Yeah.
There's nothing like it. That's all I can hope for. That's all I can hope for. But when I'm drift fishing, I expect to catch fish because I'm sons of bitches. That's what they want. They love it. So, anyways, like going back to that, like I watched it, I couldn't feel what was going on, but I could see a steelhead eating my shit on top of the water. So I reeled in, put a new sand strip on, I throw it out there, and then I felt it. My weight tick the bottom. It just tick, tick, and it was second tick. All of a sudden, it was. I put the wood to this fish so hard. I had it on, like I said, for at least half hour. I had that thing like. That's what I was going with the river was just high. It was high, but it was on the drop, but it was on the higher side. So I had my swivel and my weight that far from the tip of my rod for 10 minutes of that fight. And I'm trying to lift this fish on the side of the boat, and I can see it the whole goddamn time. My father-in-law is new. Like, this is the first trip I've ever taken him down there. He didn't know how to net a fish.
Oh, no.
He missed that fish like 7 times. And that bitch was every bit of 18 to 20 pounds. She was huge, like huge. So finally, like after he had missed netting it like 6, 7 times, I was a little bit perturbed. I was pissed. I was upset. I'm like, God damn it. I go, John, just get on the oars, row me to the fucking bank, and I'll just beast this bitch. He rows. I get her up, go on the bank, and I'm fighting for another 5 minutes, and the same thing. I'm like this far away, the steelhead right on top of my rock on the water, and I'm trying to just swing it in the bank, and my leader breaks.
No.
My rod was 90 feet up there. So fast. Dude, I launched that fucking thing. I was so pissed off. It was a hatchery fish. I could have kept her. Damn.
Yeah.
I've caught a lot of steelhead, man. And I've every year when we were talking about when I was younger, being able to fish in high school and all that stuff. Every year I caught a legit 20 to 22 pound steelhead. Every year I did. But that fish was probably the only one that was in that range that I ever could have kept. And I knew it, I should have let it go. Like but my intentions was killing that fish. And man, we all got a little bit of pride as sportsmen or whatever, a little bit of ego, or I get to take a picture and yes, I caught that fish. That was my fish, and the fucker got away.
Yeah. It's a tough pill to swallow for sure.
But
not so many times with steelhead, but lots of other fish that I was like, oh shit, oh my god. And then it's all over, and
yeah,
first thing you do is you look to who to blame. Who to blame?
yeah. What went wrong? What went wrong?
Opposite bank, was it him? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so here we are. I got this very beautiful looking cocoon.
Yeah, there you go. Do you have a burnish tool?
No, I don't, and I don't
Do
explain.
you have a needle?
Yeah, I do have that thing you talk about. There it is. Okay.
Okay. Now, feel that body with your finger right now.
Yeah.
Pretty rough.
Yeah. Very rough.
Take your needle.
Yeah.
Just the side of it, and literally rub it up and down. Pretty firmly. Like you can get pretty firm.
Okay.
And watch that GSP kind of go opaque. Can you kind of see it do that?
A little bit.
A little bit. You got a lot of body wraps probably. And what thickness are you using?
Unfortunately, the 100.
No, that's fine. But it's just so I can explain to you that because it's thicker, it's not going to go as opaque as the 30 denier.
And when okay.
That's all.
But I do see that I'm causing things, just rubbing and rubbing.
Mm-hmm.
And so this basically just helps the
smooths everything out. Makes it it can make it as wait yeah. Now let's say rub your finger over it. Once you get it all the way done around all of it, rub your finger over it and you'll feel the difference.
Like the wax coming off in like a little bit.
But there's no wax.
What is it? That's just like material
that's just it smoothing out.
Okay. Oh, maybe I do have a little bit of glue on this pokey.
That's all good.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm a dumbass. I didn't think there was wax on GSP. I use wax.
I don't know. I
use wax.
Oh, okay. You do use wax.
Mm-hmm.
That's something I need to invest in as well.
I don't use it as, man, a lot of the real traditional classic tires, like big time salmon fly, classic Atlantic salmon fly guys, they wax the shit out of their stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's like a glue. It's a different ball game. Like it's almost like cheating. I won't use it as much as those guys because to me it is fucking cheating. If you can't have the thread control, or if you can't have that, then you don't have the right understanding to do what you need to do. A little bit of wax is one thing. Like I pretty much only wax under when I do hurl, like ostrich hurl or peacock hurl, or dubbing. That's pretty much the only times I use wax. And to start my fly. When I start a fly, the first thing I do, you got your 4 inches of thread out your bobbin. I run the wax over it just to secure my thread on, and that's it.
Okay. I do have to say, as I was working the pokey,
Mm-hmm.
I started working higher up on the shank, closer to my fingers, where I could lay down more pressure into it.
Yep.
And
Yep.
now it took like a whole new form, where like I
Yep.
don't feel those bumps and grooves everywhere. Like it's
Perfect.
much smoother than it was even moments prior to me realizing that. But you can see the GSP, like,
It settles down and smoothens out.
yeah, that was
You know,
cool.
that dude, that right there,
That
that technique is going to be probably the most influential or have the most substantial effect on your outcome of your flies.
yeah.
That underbody means everything.
Okay.
It means everything. Whether even if you are dubbing, but like you can't get a clean silk or tinsel body without having a smooth underbody. It's fucking impossible. Anything, especially tinsel, anything underneath, like when you tie in feathers, like the stem of the feather, you tie it in and you lay it back a little ways. When you lay a tinsel over that, that stem will stick out without doing this. So as we work forward, tying our flying forward, you'll keep one of burnishing.
Okay.
So sometimes what I do too, that I didn't explain that to you, which like I'll do a layer or two. Like I said, this is probably 7 to 9 layers.
Yeah.
I'll do like 3 layers and I'll burnish it. And then I'll do 2 or 3 more layers and then I'll burnish it again.
To get
You
ahead.
know what I'm saying? So you just keep everything super smooth. It's a lot of prep work and a lot of detail. But to me, it helps me tie a better fly, man. I mean, if I knew a better way to do it, I would do it.
Yeah.
You know?
Fair enough. Okay, well, I feel pretty confident on, like, this is just dramatically smoother now.
Yeah.
Like, to the finger, I would almost say it's like perfectly smooth, but obviously,
Yeah. Right. That's what I was. That's why. Yeah. I mean, it's silky smooth.
silky smooth, my friend.
There you go. So moving forward, I would say like that pressure. I'm glad you said something about that. You really want to have a very firm
Mm-hmm.
stroke to smooth that out. I mean, that's where you're.
Files things that you're using. What is that? Is that an actual shard of?
It's an agate.
Oh, okay. Collected over millions of years ago.
So it's probably it's probably handmade, but I mean, like a lot of the I got mine from Chinook Wind Outfitters, which is up there in BC with you.
Mm-hmm.
She sent it to me. They're man, I never had one. I don't. The needle works great. I've used this fucking needle for I've only probably had this agate for a year and a half. The agate, because see how thin it is one way,
Yeah.
and then it's thick, and it's got that angle. You can really get some. You can keep it thin and put a lot of pressure on it and really smooth, and then you can kind of widen it out. You could, as you tie more, you'll understand how this thing really can smoothen your bodies out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Going back to that, like I said, like the way I've done it, it's just my experience over my years of tying. Like it's this isn't the only way. Whatever I can teach you that you can apply to anybody, that's what I tell them, man. Use it. But if it doesn't help you, don't fucking use it. I'm not you.
Yeah.
You just gotta. This is a never-ending learning process. I've tried for the vast majority of the last 10, 15 years, especially to really tie the perfect fly, and I have never done it.
Mm.
Never.
That's some deep shit right there, man.
You know, that's just the way it is. But when you put that much effort into it, you you feel that when you're swinging it. You do.
I like that.
I get a lot of shit snagged though, brother, and I lose a lot of flies. So a lot of people always go, "Motherfucker, you just spent 5 fucking hours tying that fly, and you just put it in the tree limb and broke it off." I'm like, well, shit, I got another one in here, but it's like it's worth the effort to me.
It's like gambling. You got to play to lose, you know, in a sense, like, or not play to lose, but you got to play knowing you can lose. Sorry,
Yeah, for sure, for sure, man. Yeah, that's a good way to. It's definitely a gamble.
Especially like I've tied. So if I take a streamer that I tied and it took me, you know, hour to tie, and it's in a tree, but the whole day I've been just sniping little holes in the, you know, I feel good. I don't. It's like break it off, tie on a new one.
Yeah.
You know, so if you're at the point where you're at least able to fish most of the time, then losing a fly is just another day at the office, really.
It's part of it. You got to pay to play, bro.
Okay. Well, I went a little too hard, and we'll pretend we didn't do that. But there's some
That's all right. I see it. Your fuzz.
My little fuzzes.
Lick your finger and just wipe it down.
Yeah, life goes on.
There you go. It happens, brother. It happens. Okay. All right. Now you kind of understand classical. The fly you tied, what I did was a flat tinsel tag. I'm sorry, the fly that you sent me a picture of that we're kind of going off of.
Okay.
It's a flat tinsel tag. Is that what you want to do, or do you want to learn how to do? Have you ever done an oval tinsel, or what tinsels do you have?
I don't even know.
I don't give a shit. I don't care.
I have pretty much nothing. I have this tinsel. Well, I do have lots. I have like a lot of holographic tinsels, but I got this one. Yeah, just gold and silver tinsel.
It's just flat. Okay.
Yeah, this is flat.
It's pretty thick. Is it very thick?
It's medium if we're talking about.
Okay. No, you're perfect. Like that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay.
Typically, what I do,
I do look through this. I do have more than that. I shouldn't say that's all I have, but I do have like a super thin silver.
There you go. That's what I'm saying. Like typically, when I do a tag and I know I'm going to do straight one color, like as a tinsel being gold, silver, I use small.
Okay.
The only reason why I use small is because I can get a cleaner look for a tag, and I'm not taking up with the medium. As you start wrapping it and as you tie more, you'll get what I'm saying. Is like anything medium.
Bill.
It's like as a medium as a rib, I really want to separate the ribs like super wide because I don't. My perspective, and this is we're getting deep now. We're getting fucking deep.
I feel
when you use like any of the mediums or large tinsels, you add a lot of flash if you keep your ribs tight. I don't like a shit ton of flash unless I'm doing a full tinsel body. So when I do ribs, any of the mediums and stuff like that, you'll see if I keep them, the shorter I keep them, the more flash it gives, so that it makes it really stand out. As a tag, though, like you can get 2 turns with your medium and you're done. But when you tie it off, you're adding so much bulk that it makes it a lot harder. So if I know I'm using it just for a tag, I use the finer stuff, small, because I can get super clean wraps and I don't have very much buildup to change in my body. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So that's the only reason why I was asking you what you have. Because I typically for like tags, I use fine, which is either small. I use small or fine. The ovals are a whole different ballgame. I use fine, small, and medium on the same fly a lot of times, but that's a really intricate rib.
Yeah.
One thing that I can say that I do that's very different from a lot of people, man, is I get very intricate with my ribbing.
Yeah.
I do. So a lot of times, like, there's a reason for it though. Like, one, it's fucking cool. I think it's cool. But two, you're building a way more durable fly. So a lot of times, especially in the D style or the space style or the classic style flies, you run your rib one way, you run your hackle the other way, you run a counter over or let me think about this, but I'm trying to explain it the best way I can explain it. Well, shit, this camera doesn't show it. It's not going to show it well. That last fly I showed you, this one,
Yeah.
there's 3 ribs on it.
Mm.
So I do a rib this way with a flat tinsel. Right in front of that flat tinsel on the front edge, I have a hackle, and I wrap it forward. So I wrap my rib forward. I wrap my hackle forward. That's on the front edge of that tinsel. I run another rib counter wrapped so it binds that hackle stem down. So if it breaks, I can still fish the fly. It's not going to mess anything up. I can trim it. And then a lot of times after I do the counter rib, I'll do a rib in front of the hackle stem that binds that counter rib down.
Mm.
So it's got 2 layers of protection. Does that make sense?
It does.
So a lot of stuff I do, I mean, it comes out like looking really fancy, but at the same time, there's a purpose for it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, if there's not a purpose for it, I don't see the point of doing it a lot of times.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so like some of the ribs get really fancy on a lot of my flies, but there is a purpose for it. I'm getting a look I want. I think it looks badass when you have a rib laid out and then it looks like between 2 ribs, a hackle pops out, but you can't really see the stem because it's buried between 2 ribs. But there's also a counter rib in there that you can barely see, and it's tying it all in together. It's like weaving a fly together.
Yeah.
If that makes it really is. It's like weaving a fly.
But it does make sense.
But fuck, man. And why I do that and get that fancy, dude, I fucking, like we're talking about shit in a tree. Well, if I can get a fly out of a tree, man, I'm gonna get that. I'm gonna rip it. Well, shit, man, I beat the hell out of my flies. I beat the fuck out of them. But I can fish them for a long damn time too.
Yeah.
If a steelhead ruins my fly, I do not give 2 shits.
Yeah,
I don't. Yeah, there's a big difference. But knowing how well I cast, shit, we're all human beings. We all get to a groove, and some days we're not in a groove, and we beat the fuck out of our flies. I do.
Yeah.
And when I'm not feeling it, man, I fucking banging them on rocks and limbs and shit. Da da da. Fuck. You pick up your fly, and if it's still fishing, shit, okay, there it goes.
There it goes, right out there.
So like I said, there's a reason to it. Mm-hmm. You can get very intricate like that. The other thing when you do that and get that intricate with a fly, you really understand tying 3 ribs in and a hackle, so 4 things in, and keeping a super slim body. Guess what? You learn a lot.
You learn. It's like a bad.
You do. You when you're tying that in, whether you tie it in wrong or right. If you tie it in wrong, you learn how to shit. What can I do to make it better?
Mm-hmm.
You see, like, man, all the shit I've learned is from mistakes. I've tied millions of flies. I'm learning from mistakes. So the way I'm doing it, that's just where it might change in 10 years. I might find some better way. Somebody I come across and talk to has a better way of doing it to me. And I'm like, shit, I should have thought of that. But in my thought process of the way I'm doing it now, this is what I'm doing that works for me. And it makes a nice clean fly. And it's the more you do, you tie in 4 ribs or 3 ribs and a hackle and tie chironomid.
Yeah.
Your chironomid is going to be the cleanest fucking chironomid you've ever seen. Like a lot of people, like I started giving some away at my local lake because I was catching the shit out of fish and handing them to other guys and stuff. And they're like, damn, that's clean as hell. And they're like, it's a chironomid. I'm fucking used to tying spay flies, getting super fancy with shit. And they're like, doing that, taking that initiative and putting that much effort into these flies for the fish I'm really passionate about plays over into all my other flies too. So when I tie chironomid, you know what I'm saying? It's so much cleaner than they ever would have been before.
Yeah.
I putting this much into these flies. I hope that makes sense, man.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just my natural sense or the way my brain works, but everything you say makes sense to me. So hopefully that
No,
correlates to other people. But
well, no, man, I did, yeah, and man, I'm a kind of an overthinker, and my brain kind of like we were talking about at the beginning. You know, I've had a lot of help lately, and I've been through some shit, going through a divorce. Man, I'm trying to be the best me I can be, and I've learned a lot of stuff about myself. My brain a lot of times thinks faster than my mouth moves.
yeah,
I just hope I'm explaining it in a way that is somewhat useful, somewhat understandable, that I'm not a way ahead of you.
yeah.
And you know what I mean?
Well, I don't think you have to worry about me. I've been picking up what you're putting down, so
Perfect.
don't stress. But
I ain't stressing.
so as far
Okay.
all I got is 2 different size tinsels, medium and pretty super thin. I'd say it's
Perfect. Do the super thin first because this is just a tag, and then we're gonna tie in tails and bodies and stuff like that.
Okay.
Do you want to do a full tinsel body?
That one that I sent you, that like the one with the grizzly hackle. I think we should.
Yeah.
One. I don't remember if that has it or not. So
Yeah, it's a full tinsel body. You're good, buddy.
good.
A very hard thing is creating a tinsel tag, tying in a tail, and create a tinsel body. Getting a smooth transition is a very difficult thing, which you're going to learn a lot, and I love it. Like that's fuck yeah, dude, bro. Cool.
Yeah,
that's.
And I'll fish it tomorrow, and I'll tell you if I felt fucking my balls tingling because of it.
Hold on. Did it just cut me off? I said my Zoom microphone was off.
No, it's still on as
Cool.
good. Okay.
Cool. We're rolling. Okay. Hold on just a sec. Let me find my. I'm going to keep it.
Do you
Go
ever
ahead.
burn those little fluffies?
Burn them?
Yeah. Do you ever do that?
I don't.
Yeah. I'm going to leave.
No, you're good. The tinsel. Well,
once you got stuff on it, then you don't want to fucking put a flame near it.
Yeah.
Prior.
There's going to be a little bit of a difference in what I'm doing than what you're doing, just because you said you have mylar tinsel, right? It's plastic.
Yes.
Yes. I use full real metal tinsel.
Crazy.
Yeah. This is just part of, I'm a lucky son of a bitch, and I have access to a lot of really different stuff. Every time I tell somebody I use real metal tinsel, they are like, I've never even fucking heard of it.
Yeah, never even.
I
didn't even.
But it is
an option. I thought.
Yeah.
In tinsel.
So when you go, when you get into the super classic stuff, they're all using real metal tinsel. They're not using Marlar. They're not much. I mean, as effective fishing and anything like that, it doesn't have any difference at all. The difference is the characteristics of the material.
Mm.
Try metal compared to plastic wrapping around a hook. What does the plastic do that metal doesn't do? Bends.
Yeah.
So it's easier to do mylar, which is like there's nothing wrong with mylar. I've done it forever. When you do real metal, you get a truer sense of feel of what you're doing. Is
Yeah, like I can pick. Yeah, that makes sense.
okay. Okay, that's all. That's all. I was. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whereas
That's all.
yeah,
Yeah, and that's all. That's all I wanted to say. That I just want to be able to give everybody and you an understanding that of certain things that I'm doing when I'm doing it is different than it's a different technique because it's a different material.
yeah,
I really shoot for straight lines. Like, man, I want perfect segmentation if I'm doing ribs. I want, like in metal, when you're wrapping a full tinsel body, fuck it. This is where we're at. We're gonna tie in a tag using a like I said, I'm using a full metal. You're using the mylar. Shit, what the hell happened to that? But it's using real metal and being able to put it on edge. You can get away with mylar of kind of being. I don't mean this in a bad way. You can be a little bit sloppier.
Mm.
When you're using real metal, you want as you're. It's the same with these thread wraps. As you're laying it, you want edge on edge.
Yeah.
You can get away with not being edge on edge with mylar. You can't get away with being edge on edge and not having a smooth underbody with metal, because that underbody will
Do something.
eke it out. Yeah, exactly. It'll bend out.
Force it to open up or something.
Exactly. Perfect.
Yeah. Okay.
So I do it differently too, compared to a lot of the super traditional classic ways. And a lot of times, like if they were doing a full metal body, they'll tie the metal in up here, wrap it down like thread, and then wrap it up. Well, guess what?
Mm.
It hides everything. So my goal is to run this and do this as clean as possible to where I don't have to do that.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? Like, so once we do our tag in, tie our tail in, there's going to be a little bit difference, but I'm going to show you a way to tie in metal tinsel to where I don't have to start up here, run down and go back. I'm going to tie it in here and just move it one way. My basic idea in Time to Fly is to work my way back, start there, and then tie in everything and work my way forward in one kind of smooth motion. You tie everything in, and as you tie it in, you can lay it out, but everything is moving forward. Once you get back to your thread, you tie it off and you're done.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
100%.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's just different because I'm like, that's just my style. Like I said, a lot of the classic guys, I do the same. I use my technique and my style, but where in all the classic tires I see the way they do stuff. Hang on, can you hear my son's video game?
No.
Okay, cool. I got my earphones. Yes, nice. Anyway, so I can hear it just barely, but anyways, even the classic guys, all of them, whether it's silk or tinsel, they start above, they tie down where they wanted to start, and then they work their way back up. So basically, they double layer everything. I don't do that. You add so much bulk doing that. I don't like it.
Yeah.
A functional fly to me, intruders are kind of different because they got their stages and they got that big plume. They're trying to just get everything to kind of stand up. Flies, any fly tied on a hook, kind of the more slim, sparse it's tied with you can add imitation bulk, silk, hackles, all that stuff can add imitation bulk. But the same idea I'm going for is a thin, sparse tide fly. A thin, sparse fly tie. You like that? That's all backwards. A thin, sparse tide fly does everything you want to. It's going to sink as deep as it's possibly going to sink at the right angle and swim the best possible way it's going to swim if you keep everything as thin and sparse as possible.
Yeah.
Your wing is what it is, you know, I mean, everything on top, but you don't want to add any bulk, buoyancy, drag that has lift on a fly is not good.
Mm.
In my opinion of what you're trying to get. When you're spay fishing, swing fishing, all that stuff, that's your line, your heads, your leader length, all that stuff comes into account to getting your fly where it needs to be. But your fly needs to be fishing, in my opinion, or what my goal is in tying a fly, is to get that fly to be fishing as deep as possible and staying as low in the water column in the fish's face as long as possible.
Yeah.
So the bulk, drag, anything, any lift, like I never want, like if I had a shooting head, I never want my fly to be above my head, ever. If it is, then I mean, there's got to be certain occasions where that's a technique that can work, but that's not my goal of a fly. I want my fly to be at least at my head length or as deep as my fly line or my tippets or tips are, or below that.
Mm.
It's a confidence thing and a functional thing. You know what I mean? Why fucking fish a T17 if your fly is going to be fishing at the height of a T7?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So there is a functionality to the fly. If your fly is not functioning right, then you're shit out of luck. And you know, if I can fish a T11 or a T14, but if I can fish a T11 and have my fly dropping down to where T14 is, I'm going to fish that T11. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's just it's easier for everything else to. It's easier casting, easier fishing. Your fly's fishing better. That's my goal. You know what I mean? Hopefully that makes sense, brother. Like I said,
Yeah. No, I feel it. I feel it. Yeah. Well, let's do the tinsel then.
all right, brother.
Ready to go. Revved up now.
Damn. Somehow in metal tinsel, when you mess it up, you can't. It's hard to get it unmessed. Like I don't know where my end went. Oh, there she is. She just popped out. Somehow it got underneath all my other shit. And in metal, that's not good.
Yeah, because then it kinks it and whatnot, eh?
That too, and it'll get stuck. And you can't pull the shit out. Fingernail clippers.
Oh.
This is, I'm going to tell you, everybody always gives me shit when they see me using fingernail clippers. I tie a lot at the fly tying shows and stuff, and I was like, "You use fingernail clippers?" And I'm like, everybody always says, "Man, I should have thought of that." But I use this shit out of fingernail clippers. So I tie my tag in so I got small silver. I'm going to tie it in, and I'm going to work it back towards my hook point, 2 or 3 turns, and then I'm going to overlap and then start working my way back forward. Now, when you have a nice cigar shape, I can see you have a nice joint shape. When you have a nice joint shape and you're working your way up, brother, you're doing good.
Okay.
So what I always do too is I work my thread
Oh, hey.
quite a ways further forward than where I expect my tinsel or my tag to end.
and then you can unwrap it to go back.
Exactly.
Well, I just also figured out this Tinsel's gold on one side. I didn't actually notice that at first, but so I'm doing gold, but that's just going to be what it is.
Dude,
It looks
you're gonna tie the baddest ass trout fly ever that existed. No, I'm just giving you shit. Sorry, I'm gonna fix my chair real quick. It's all my carpet's all fucked up. I need my chair. I'm gonna shut my door again, Rich. Bryce, will you help your brother? Well, come talk to him, please. Damn kids.
damn kid.
No, go. Sorry, I'm gonna grab a chew real quick.
Yeah, no worries.
I'm a dirty ass hillbilly, man.
I'm on
That's
that.
what it is.
I'm on those nicotine pouches.
The Zens,
Well, we
same thing.
we can get Zins, but we can only get the 3 milligrams. But I have this other brand, Clint,
Oh, damn.
and they're 4 milligrams, which is not much more. But I've gone in the
Can
20
you?
milligram ones, and those sit you down, and they're not fun. I don't know where to tie this in, so I'm going to stop and let you catch up. I kind of
You're
went.
all good, bro.
I kind of went.
Can you chew? Can you chew Copenhagen?
We don't get Copenhagen up here.
What?
Canada. Let's not talk politics here.
No, I'm just wondering. Like, really?
It's sad.
Shit. All right, Andrew. Well,
I've gone
here's the deal.
on lots of other chews. I mean, I used to chew it, but then
Here's going to be your good luck charm. Is after we're done with this, I'm gonna send you a few flies. Give me your address. Swing up there, and I'll send you a can of Copenhagen or two.
Oh, geez. I have multiple friends that will.
It's just for good luck, brother. Dude,
oh man,
you gotta. One of my things. I know it's fucking stupid. One of my things is you got to pay your homage to the fishing god. So every time I'm fishing on the river, my chew goes out in the river, and I let them know, like, here you go, fishing gods. Here you go. Here's your tobacco offering. Here you go.
Yeah.
and if I haven't caught a fish in a while, it's like, shit, I haven't paid my gods. And I'll pull my chew out and I'll throw it in the river. I'm like, shit. There we go.
There he is.
It's just a stupid I don't know, ritual I got when I steelhead fish.
Dude, I for the longest time had to always have the one pair of socks on, so I understand.
Right.
I was like, fuck, I forgot my socks today. I'm fucked. No fish today.
Yeah. Shit, I might as well go back in the truck.
We'll go home. Okay, so how far up would I go with this tinsel since it's just a little tag?
You're good, brother. Wherever you want your tail to start.
Okay, I feel
So
good there then.
yeah, perfect. That's all you do.
Basically right at the hook point. Slightly forward. Mind you this.
Perfect. I always on like the Alec Jackson or even these blue herons, I like to be a little bit above the hook point.
Okay.
Not much, you know what I mean? Not crazy.
Yeah, it's like a 16th. Away.
Yeah.
16th, a moving 16th since my bob. There we go.
That's honestly, man, one of the things too though with like my style is I like how do you explain it? Like long, everything long and kind of exaggerated in a fly. I guess that's kind of the only way that I like or can explain it. Is I just like things to be a little bit long.
Oh, let's see.
Oh, I heard that.
That's already one of my nicest tags. So, because I always
There you go.
the big tinsels. So there we go. Food for thought. I've honestly already we haven't even done more than a tag, and basically, holy shit, 2 hours, and I already feel like that's the best thing I've ever done.
Well, no, man. Like I said, man, there's so much learning to this, and man, I've had motherfuckers call me cocky or egotistical or not very many, man, but it bugs the shit out of me when people say that. I'm not egotistical or anything. As long as we're learning, I'm very experienced in what I do.
Hmm.
That's it. that that doesn't make me better than anybody. That doesn't make me worse than anybody. That doesn't make shit. This is just the way that I do it. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people frown upon. Oh, like I was talking about, if you don't run a tinsel or a silk down and back, you didn't do it right. Kiss my ass. Kiss my ass. I can make it. I I can do similar and make my fly come out and fish the way I want it to fish, tying it the way I want to tie it. How the hell does that make me any worse than you or better than you? I'm not better. I'm not worse.
Just
I,
different.
and, well, and I'm experienced. Like I say, man. I mean, when you're fuck it, I'll round up. I'm 41 years old and I've been tying flies since I was 6. That's 30 fucking 5 years of tying flies.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive in itself. Sorry, I just spilt a little bit, and then I was like, "What to use to wipe it up?" And I grabbed my son's sweater. It's like, he'll mess it up anyways, right?
Oh, that's right. Especially son, that thing will be dirty before you know it. You'll look at it, it'll be dirty.
Ready right now.
Exactly, it's already dirty. I think what I did on that fly, probably the other half of this tail, is I tied in. This tail was purple dyed golden pheasant tippet.
Well, they're going to get red dyed. I'm just taking what I got.
No, perfect. No, you're perfect. Perfect. Here, I mean, this is honestly
It's going
tying GP.
that or what? Tying.
Well, tying GPs, man.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I tie them. I don't know. Hang on. Let me see. I can. Oh yeah. Let me turn it around. Supposed to be says I can turn it around. There we no. It looked right back at me. Oh, there we go. Like I said, here's all my fly tying shit. Like every one of those drawers has shit in it. There's hooks, shit. Here's my desk. I got shit everywhere, and that whole thing's full of tying materials. And then there's that too underneath my desk.
Yeah. Looks like a fly tire's been there.
Yeah, and this is above my desk. And there's behind my desk. Those are all flies.
Yeah. Well, no shortage in flies.
And then that's where I was going here. Here's my boxes I'm tying up.
I like those boxes. I guess.
I love these boxes.
Yeah, that's pretty sick.
But I mean, like, here's
to hold your hook down and all, so it's not just like.
Oh, and they're super traditional. These are Wheatleys.
Oh, okay.
I mean, these are the real deal.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, those are just a few of the GPs I've tied.
Yeah, they're gorgeous.
GPs, man, dude. Next, oh come on, turn around. Next time we tie a fly together, brother, it's. I know. You said you're tying a GP here recently, or next time, buddy. But they're my.
Yeah.
They're my thing. I'm a GP tying son of a bitch. I fish the shit out of them too, man. Well, I don't know. Shit. Do you know what a winner's hope is?
No.
A winter, wow. Yeah. A Winter's Hope is a pattern developed by Bill McMillan. Kind of pretty famous pattern is Tinsel body.
Okay, yes, then yes.
I tied a GP and a Winter's Hope variation, which is really hard. Like, as we do a tinsel body, you'll understand, like, that's all tinsel body. It's probably one of the hardest fucking flies I've tied in a long time.
Crazy.
But it's fun. Like, I learned, like,
You
one
learn.
thing too. Yeah, one thing I do, like, man, I never not try. Like, if I like something or if I'm inspired by something, man, I give it a try.
Yeah.
What the hell's going to go wrong?
Yeah.
Worst thing that happens is I learn something. Okay. So I do the same thing when I do GPIs. Like, a lot of guys, when they do GPs, they cut a V into their tippet. You know what I mean?
Into the
To make their eyes. This is a technique I use for all my tails, whether it's a tail or even like if I use a golden pheasant crest and then I put a tippet topping in my tail.
Mm-hmm.
I do the same thing. Grab your. Let me see if we can do this. I'm gonna rip this off just so it's gone.
Okay.
Okay. See, I have a tippet.
Yeah.
Hold on. There you go. You should be able to see that.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on. I'm gonna click on my video so I can see a little bit. There you go. The one thing I do, like, if this was a brand new tippet, I do the same thing. I grab where I want, and this is a tail, so I want it to be very thin. Kind of see how I kind of split it.
Mm-hmm.
I grab. I want what you want to keep is the black marks even, right?
Okay.
So I kind of wiggle a little section out. That top section is what I'm going to use. So I grab it. I make sure those black marks are nice and even.
Mm-hmm.
Just those. I grab the rest of the feather. You can kind of see.
Oh.
I'm going to rip. Now I'm going to rip it.
Okay.
And when I rip it, you're not going to be able to see it in this picture, but I kept that part of that stem still attached.
Well, I don't know if I did it the exact way you did because the part I wanted was more in the center, which happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But I do understand what you meant because then, like, that little bit that was attached stays all together on it.
Exactly. And so I can keep it nice thin, but I can keep. You can't really see it there, but you kind of can. You can see where my markings are even.
Yeah. I'm going to grab a new feather that's not in the center right this time because now I understand what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's amazing how when you don't really tie like intricate stuff per se, and then you start tying intricate stuff, and then you start noticing quality of materials a lot more.
Yeah.
That's a thing that I'm starting to.
Man, you can make shitty material look good. You can.
It just takes.
It takes a lot of fucking work. When you got really good material, it makes everything so much easier. Everything.
Mm-hmm. Okay, there we go. I found where I want. I'm gonna put it all together. Separate it. Okay, that's what I want. I'm gonna rip it. Yeah, I ripped it.
Is the stem still kind of attached?
Kind of attached.
There you go. So now, see, when you do that, what it does is it allows you to keep those markings even.
Yeah.
So there, and like I said, like I don't know, can you see that? I'm wearing my maybe I knew I kind of were trying to black fly, but I figured with this shirt you kind of see the background
Yeah, looks good. Okay, so
and see how where it's at. Like my tail barely goes to the bend of my hook, maybe just a little bit short.
boom, right there. Now,
There you
when
go.
you laid this down, did you have to do like a loose one and then wrap down fast kind of thing, or do you just put?
So this is only one wrap, so I'll show you, brother.
Oh, that worked
Like
out
literally,
mint.
yeah. And see, when you tie like that, I put one loose, kind of loose wrap over, and then I do kind of one tighter wrap. What I do is I turn the whole. I have a rotary vise.
Yeah.
I turn this fly so I'm looking right down that stem, or right down that hook shank.
Mm,
Now, guess what I can do? I can manipulate this feather by grabbing both ends. I'm not pulling it forward. I'm not pushing it back. All I'm doing
you're like
is lining up with the shank of that hook.
yeah. I just stacked it and it came out even better than it just was. Cool.
You know what I mean? And that's you just want to be able to do that. And I only get 3 or 4 wraps on there. Like next 3 or 4 wraps are super tight.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. That'll
And
feel confident on. That's sick.
there you go, brother. Good.
Hmm. Like from
But like I said, you want everything to be in line with that shank. If it's offset a little bit, current, you know, aerodynamics and hydrodynamics are very similar. If your anything you set is kind of off center or off kilter, the water grabs it a certain way, is going to pull it a certain way.
mm, yeah.
So, so that's my, I guess, perspective of what I'm doing is. So when I look down that shank, my tail's right down the like. I can see my hook point, and it's right in the middle of my shank, or pretty damn close, and my tail is straight. She, she's gonna be fishing fine.
Yeah, that's a good little technique to pinch either end, and you kind of like almost. Sorry, I lifted it up a little bit.
Yeah. Yes.
And it sat down.
Perfect.
Center.
Yep.
Wasn't like half off to one side, half off. It's just
Yep.
I'm looking straight at my fly from like a top point view, and it's just all straight. It's just I
Yep.
can see the hook bend because it's above it. It's beauty.
Perfect. That's what you want. So now, since this fly we're going to run a Tinsel body, I am going to work my thread all the way forward. Nice, tight, securing wraps, covering as much of the tail as I want. And see, when you have a kind of a cigar shape, I can get 10, 15 wraps because of my thread so thin. I can come here and I can trim it off, and I'm not going to have much bulk. Some maybe using the heavier thread, you might have to wrap that whole butt-in section of feathers down your shank to keep the bulk in a shape up that you want.
Mm,
See what I'm saying? So it depending on the thread you're using, you're still looking to create. You're just building up one more layer, but you want to keep the same shape.
yeah. I feel like I can almost go all the way. So I go all the way forward and then
Yep.
all the way back.
You want to go almost all the way back. You want to leave a little bit of room where you are going to tie in the tinsel. Luckily, in this fly, well, shit, we got to do a hackle. So we're going to tie in the body, which is a tinsel, a rib, and a hackle.
Hmm.
So there's going to be a little bit more buildup, and that's kind of why, if you do this layer that we just did, it creates that separation to be a smoother transition.
Now, one thing that I remember when I realized it, like people like yourself, I'm rapping at a quarter of the speed that you are. And the main
But
thing that I never really thought of until it dawned on me was that you have that kind of thread control where you can lay so fast side by side. Where I'm still like, I mean, they go side by side, but if I go too fast, I'm all over the place.
dude, I catch myself backing up and doing stuff all the time. But if I see that, I just wrap that fast because, well, a couple things. Experience, like as I'm wrapping, every wrap I'm pulling thread out and lengthening my thread so I don't have to wind it real down tight and then pull it and then wind it down tight and pull it.
Mm,
But if I see anything that's not super smooth, I back off, get to where it was smooth, and I start again.
yeah. Okay. So sorry, you said when I'm tying back towards the butt section, I'm stopping just a few wraps prior,
Yep.
and that's to tie in my next material.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So yeah, I'm about for three wraps from the back.
Perfect. So your next material, what I tie in next is going to be what I consider my dominant material. If it was going to be a rib, it's going to be my dominant rib. The rib that I'm going to set first, that sets the spacing for all my other materials.
Mm.
But in this case, it's a body. The only reason why I say that because like dubbing, you don't have to do that. My dubbing is not a dominant thing. Like I'm not worried about my spacing or anything because it's tinsel or silk. If I was going to do silk, the reason why the next dot material is because I'm still working my way back to my tail and tag junction.
Mm-hmm.
Once I work back to my tail tag junction by tying in my most dominant material, in this case being a tinsel, once I get there, I'm never going to go back farther. And when I wrap that material first, that's going to set the next edge of my body.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
I think so.
So, because it's going to, even so, if I'm tying my body in next, that first wrap is going to cover all the other ribs. Any other material coming off this fly, that first wrap is going to set their starting points as I work my way forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Just want to make sure that makes sense. It's like I said, my brain and shit works my way. It doesn't always work the way of others. So I want it to be understandable. See, in my case, because I'm using such thinner thread, I'm gonna have to go down to where where I cut my tail off, and I'm gonna have to work my way back up and build another layer to get my thickness down. While you're where you are, burnish your silk or your GSP. I'm sorry. That'll be my next thing is I'm going to burnish. So take your needle. Yeah.
Just rub the schnitzel out of it. And now I'm still being very firm on the whole rubbing it back and forth on all this thread, burnishing it, as you say.
Mhm.
But
But not as tough.
yeah, you can feel it though. You can tell when
Yep.
you've done it enough.
Yep. A lot of times, like like I was saying, like with mine being thinner, like it really comes super opaque. Like when you burnish it and everything's really nice and smooth, like it's like almost clear, even with a ton of layers.
Yeah, I can definitely see that or that um pheasant tippet just shining through now. Like it's
Yep,
almost like there's nothing there.
yep, that's what you want.
Oh wow. The more you know, the more you know.
Right?
Hmm.
Well, it's just like I said, it's just like I said. If I knew a faster way to build stuff up and make everything be super smooth and it's kind of like your prep. Everything's like a prep for your next material. But once you get it lined out, and just like I said, it's kind of just in my case, it's just experience. So, like I said, we left 3 or 4 turns up above there. Now we're going to start tying our things in. The next material is going to be in this flat silver.
Yeah. Should I be using my medium or still go small?
You can use medium. I'm using medium on this.
The other thing I guess about the mylar tinsel is if you pull it too hard, it stretches, which then if especially
Yes.
cold, it it really shows that you've stretched it.
Yeah.
That's when
That's the most that's my biggest dislike with Mylar. You can't overstretch metal.
no. All right. So now I can work
Hold on.
oh,
Well, one thing I just did that I always expect everybody to know this, but I always forget they don't. I cut an angle.
mm, okay. Yeah, I normally do. I haven't been for this, but just to even cut an angle on your tinsel so in that way you can lay it down.
It keeps those. What it does is when you lay those first couple wraps, they're kind of the hardest. And if you have a real wide tinsel, especially where your thread stops at that point and your first wrap is, the bottom or wherever your tinsel starts is going to be really wide and it's going to leave gaps. If you don't cut that angle in, you can't keep those first few wraps really tight to make it look like it's super clean and all your edges are touching.
Hmm. Okay, yeah, that'll wrap. Always practice wrap to make sure it doesn't mess the materials up at the back.
Right. And
Some
that's where that angle comes in. Is like once you get really good at understanding that angle, and like I said, mine is I cut it really steep. Like I get like half a scissor length of an angle.
okay, I see what you're saying.
So those first couple turns are really thin layers of tinsel.
Yeah.
And I haven't got back to my junction between my tail and my tag yet. I still have a couple turns left. So now I'm going to start tying in my other things and I'm going to work it back. As I'm tying in everything, I'm going to work it back right to that junction of my tail and my tag.
Okay.
Even if I haven't tied everything in, that's as far back as my thread will go, because that's the starting point of my body.
Yeah.
So this tinsel, that's gonna, you know what I'm saying? That sets your beginning point of that next material as it goes on.
Okay.
So we're gonna, on in this particular case, this fly. I had an oval with, I think it was in front of, whether it's in front or behind, we'll deal with that. But it was an oval and then a hackle. So I'm gonna
Oval.
typically I go ahead. Go ahead.
When you say oval, you mean
An oval tinsel. So it's kind of like a rope.
oh, okay. I do have like a gold and black kind of ropey thing. That's quite thin. Is that what we're
That'll work.
okay? Well, that's what we're going to use, unless I magically. A lot of these, it's funny because a lot of these like thinner tinsel stuff were like stuff I got when I first started tying flies in like starting fly kits,
For sure. Oh yeah.
and don't ever use them. But now we're this one's like a almost a white. What is this? Pearl.
Oh, that's
Gold.
I love pearl stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This one as well, I think you can. Yeah. All right. We're using pearl then, if you like it.
Hell yeah. The only reason, and kind of the only reason why you're using
Oh,
like an oval tinsel or kind of a rope material tinsel is because that you're going to put that hackle. I'm going to tie it in where the hackle goes in front of it. So I'm going to, once we lay our tinsel body, then we're going to lay our oval rib. That oval rib is kind of like a dam the whole way up. Like if you used a flat tinsel or a mylar, that edge is so small that that hackle can. You have a super smooth surface underneath it, and then you have a super smooth surface that hackle can slide over it around it. When you use the oval, kind of the ropey stuff, you once you set it, that's where it's going to be. And as you're tying your hackle in, you can lay it right next to the edge and not have it move. It looks like it comes right off of it. You know what I mean?
I do, yeah. So I got a medium and a micro tinsel.
Use a medium.
Use the medium. Okay, and that's the pearl one, so that even works out even better.
And one thing I do, which is going to be really hard to tell, but this is like a fine detail of this. All your ovals are basically a tinsel wrapped around a cord.
Yeah.
Like this.
Yeah.
I take my fingernail clippers, I don't cut it off, I just barely pinch it, and I pull it to where I just have a cord. So when I tie this in, it's only wrapping that cord and it lays flat.
Oh yeah. Separate.
If you were to tie it like a hackle stem, there's not much give in that hackle stem. The cord allows you to tie it in, and you're not getting any bulk.
Yeah.
But you want to make sure that once you pull the cord, that your last like wrap or two catches actually the tinsel.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? You want that where the cord and your tinsel is starting to be right about where that transition is. You know what I mean? So when you start it, you're not wrapping any cord. You're just wrapping tinsel forward.
Yeah. Okay, now I'm kind of at that junction. Is that okay, or should I be trying to move things forward?
No, that's fine. That's fine. So if you got to that junction, now anything we tie in, you're going to tie in moving forward.
Okay, and last question. Should my cord be laying on top of my tinsel, almost like, or should one be lower than the other so it's out of the way in a sense?
So kind of here's how, like your body tinsel doesn't matter where you started at. But if you were to take this fly out of a vise, like see my tails here, if I were to take this fly and rotate it to where I'm looking right down the tail, hook, everything. But if I were to go to where my tail is, you got your hook shanks round like that.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? I always tie in my ribs and stuff at about not at 6 o'clock, like 5 o'clock.
Just off. Okay. I'm not
Yeah.
from that. I can tweak that there.
I'm sorry, not 5 o'clock. It would be 7 o'clock.
I got what you were saying.
Yeah. You want to be so when you wrap, yeah. So when you wrap that first wrap forward, the bottom of that rib should look like it starts at about 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
And then you know what I mean? It makes it smoother and easier and
And then,
cleaner looking.
and then if we're talking, what the water wants to push it left or right, that would,
Yeah.
yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay.
So now we got our oval rib in. Now where we tied that in, and I'm in the same point as you. I'm as far back as I want to go. Every wrap I do from now on in this fly is going to be moving forward.
Okay.
So now I'm going to tie in a hackle, and in this case, I'm going to use one of them same purple damn grizzlies.
Now I have like two kind of capes, purple grizzly capes. I think maybe even a third somewhere kicking around. But I guess we want to go for like the straightest that we have. Might not
You want to have the nicest taper.
the nicest taper. Okay.
So as you bend these feathers out, you want to have a nice, as long as they're even, or as they get a little bit larger, going to the front, because we're going to tie it in by the tip.
Okay.
You
So
know what I'm saying?
not a dramatically stubby one.
Right.
Okay.
Not like a hen hackle.
Yeah. All right. This one feels like it's the one. She's looking at me, smiling.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, no. Oh, found a nicer one. That's the one. I'm feeling it. It called my name. Get back here.
And I always try to use hackles if I know I'm going to use it as a hackle. I do my damnedest not to use like super nicely shaped tips, because they're like tying in a hackle tip wing. I love all hackles as a hackle tip wing, but finding a nice shape like this is about as perfect a hackle for a wing as I like.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of more rounded. You know what I mean? Like this.
Mm.
Those are what you want if you're going to do hack. I mean, size dependent. You know what I mean? But you kind of want that kind of round edges. Those, if you have those, save them for hackle tips
Okay.
wings. But in my case, like I said, you can see that tip.
Kind of all curved.
Yeah, yeah. That's you're like me. That's a hackle.
Good. We're good.
That's not. Yeah, that's not a wing.
So you're brushing your fibers downward. So I'm going to do the same. Getting
Yep.
just exposing the guts. Yeah.
And where I get the guts or that stem, that's where my tying point is going to be.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tie it in literally right the way I want to lay it. And in my case, I'm going to have my hackle lay in front of my rib. So as I'm tying it in, I'm going to have it tied in exactly tight to that oval. So if I'm wrapping my oval forward this way and I want it to stand above, I'm going to wrap it on top. If I want it to lay below it, I wrap it in below it.
So right now you have your shit upside down. So I'm going to go upside down as well.
There.
So we're wrapping forward with the oval, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I want to tie it underneath. correct?
Yep.
And then does it matter which way my cup is for like my hackle?
It doesn't. In this case, it won't.
Okay. I won't stress
When
me.
you when you get to collars or um, like tying a traditional spay, a lot of times I strip one side of
Yeah.
my feather.
Yeah.
And in this case, I'm not because it's it's not a soupy or a super webby hackle that I'm tying in. I'm kind of tying in more of a stiffer, not dry fly hackle, but kind of more rigid hackle.
Yeah.
And I'm going to keep the whole tip and everything tied down. And I'm just going to do nice tight wraps all the way forward.
Still attempting to get this thing to lay where I want, and that did it. All right. I'm feeling good.
Once I get to a certain point, I just pluck the tip off, but there's still fibers that I'm going over, so it creates the same bulkiness.
I'm going to just leave it on because it's going to help this transition for where my cord stopped, or my cord.
Yep.
And now you can, oh, dude, that's mint. Ooh. This is why they tied intricate flies back then, because they didn't have Instagram to go on. So they had time to tie these things.
True.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
And,
And it's
teach someone their first fly and like, all right, so first, and this is where like an
yeah.
hour plus in, they would be like, oh my God. Okay, so I go all the way forward.
I leave like I stop it just before my thread has stopped.
Okay.
Just a few turns because now we're gonna wrap the pencil forward, and if I have to cover the thread to get to that end, I'm not hurting it. But it will leave it to where my thread, as soon as I start wrapping, it's gonna be tying that material off.
Yeah. Okay, so now I'm wrapping my tinsel all
Yep.
around, making sure everything's
Edge on edge.
I guess like that first wrap, like you kind of got to almost backtrack it slightly over itself to really make sure you get that full.
Yep. That's why I cut that angle in it.
Mm-hmm.
And see, when you use real metal, like you can feel it. It pops into place. You can feel it. You can't feel it with mylar.
No, and I'm seeing there's like a little bit of a bump triangle thing that's trying to. So I probably wrapped too much over itself, not laying it side by side, eh?
Probably. So it's edge on edge, moving forward. That first wrap and second wrap are your hardest.
Oh, I'm edge on edge now, and
There you go.
that's the
Yep.
not
You can feel it.
yeah. I'm liking that. Oh,
And once you
it popped, it pushed itself into edge on edge.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, now I see the real advantage of that.
Metal.
Well, maybe the metal as well. I was thinking more the just having such a perfect thread base.
Yeah. Oh, that's yes. That's everything. Because if you don't, it's going to show through.
Okay, so I've worked my way up to the front, and so now I need to tie it in
Yep.
without creating bulk, but tying it in. It pushed like now I'm like right at the very front, so I should almost backtrack one and tie it in
Yes.
upper.
Yep.
Okay.
And the hardest part with real metal tinsel is coming over that hook return.
Mm,
When you have mylar, you can make it looks a little bit cleaner. It might take a few turns
mm,
of backing off and tightening everything back down to get that where that return comes nice and clean.
yeah.
It's a pain in the ass. So then next, yeah, you wrap your oval forward. Like I said, I like
Do you
on the
cut your tinsel off
uh,
of this? We're good to cut.
what's that?
I can cut my.
Yes. Yep. And like I said, I like to do wide turns. It just keeps, one of the things about just about any hackle is it adds bulk and drag, lift.
And we're the same way we wrap that tinsel, we're wrapping this cord.
Yep.
Okay.
You want to, like I said, you want to keep pretty nice and wide wraps.
It's even easier to. Yeah, I guess everything starts with a good foundation
Yes.
because this is now
That makes
laying
everything easier.
way, way more naturally parallel, or not parallel, but anyways.
Even.
Sometimes even there we go. Sometimes it's hard to rap and talk.
I get it.
Boom.
Now, one thing I suck at doing is folding hackles with my scissors. So I always fold as I'm tying. So as I wrap forward, like this part of this hackle wants to roll forward, I grab these fibers and twist them to where they're rolling back.
Okay. And I can cut my cord off too now.
Yes, sir.
I'm in that position. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. So you don't pinch and pull them to like make them sit one direction per se?
I kind of, I don't know, as you wrap a hackle, like, how do you, like, there's kind of a bottom side and a top side of the feather.
Yeah.
I want the bottom side to be facing towards the back of the hook, and I want the top side to be facing the front of the hook. So if I'm wrapping it, folding it, I just kind of I'm trying to make the natural curve go towards the back of the feather. So all the fibers are flowing towards the back of the feather,
Hmm.
or back of the fly.
I mean, I don't know if that's doing it 100%, but I'm not going to hold up on it.
Oh, you're good.
It's looking good though.
There you go. That's all that matters.
Oh, somehow we went from behind the cord in front of the cord. Ah, there. Mm. Feel it with like a little more practice and skill, I would know more of how I want my hackle to face this moment, but I think it's doing it really well. Considering I'm guessing.
Looks damn good, man. And then once I get to the front, I always do like a turn or two extra. You know what I mean? Just kind of your hackle, just kind of make a good, clear stopping point. But when you do a couple turns, you kind of just making that a nice even segment.
Um, all right. This looks like I should stop now. So that's what I'm going to do. And then just catch it and
Mm-hmm.
okay. Boom. You are caught. I'm going to poke out some of these that I didn't want caught. Do you try to end it so you have no more fibers on your stem? Are you at that level?
I can't. I do that. Like,
You could almost like backtrack and rip off where you need.
yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. If I were to lay a feather out, it would be, I always add, like, if I just lay it flat across the body and we're going to tie it in, I always add like a half inch
Mm.
for a couple extra turns. I don't know. Hopefully you can see that.
Yeah, so yours are going back. Mine are kind of sticking straight up, but I'm not going to.
That's all right. Yeah. A lot of that could. A good way to fix that is, well, I kind of, as I'm tied in too, as you can see, I kind of keep folding them, pressing them back.
Yeah, they're definitely sticking a little more now that I'm doing that.
Perfect.
Dude, this looks sexy with the pearl, and like you can almost not see it, but it's there.
Yep. I could, yeah. I love pearl. Anything kind of pearly, UV-ish, dude, it's fucking badass. So that's pretty much, I mean, that's the hard part of fly. Now we got a collar and a wing, pretty much. So in this point, like for me, using GSP, I could either, right about here is where I'm going to switch my threads. I'm going to right now just because I don't have very much buildup front. But if I had more buildup than I liked, I would tie in my collar with the GSP. And once I tied it in, I would, because you're working your work thread forward, I would tie in the collar and then tie off my GSP with the thread I plan on using.
So sorry, let me just make sure I fully understood that.
You're
Um,
good.
so
Is it very bulky?
it is slight for if what we're doing has been trying to keep the bulk down, I would say it's on the heavier bulk side of bulking.
Okay. So what I would do now is we're going to tie in a collar. So don't change your threads yet.
Okay. I don't really well,
So
I guess I have like some UTC
yeah,
in the or something.
I never finish my flies with GSP very often. I just don't. Because I like I like red-headed flies. It's just kind of my thing. But the two colors I use are either red or black.
Yeah.
But when I get here, I just want, so it's, I don't want a white head, so that's why I basically add this. And being 16-aught, it's still super thin, and you're not adding much bulk.
Yeah.
It's just kind of the way I've always done it. So with you though, if you're having a little bit of bulk, now we're gonna, like, typically right now, um, I use a kind of a longer. collar. I mean, dude, you can use anything. You can use teal, you can use widgeon, you could use pheasant, golden, ringneck, whatever. I just want something that's gonna, you know, like the idea I had behind this fly is to kind of have a purple glow. Like literally imagine this fly sitting in the water.
Hmm.
That tinsel body is gonna really reflect off that purple hackle.
Yeah.
I like that. That's what I want. So I want to keep the similar color, but I mean, if you want to add some contrast or add a different color wing, like the overall fly that you sent me a picture was purple. I've always heard Steelhead fucking love purple, so that's where I'm going with it. But my next hackle is going to be just a little bit longer and kind of encompass everything, and it's going to be very sparse because it's kind of just leggy, you know. That's is kind of what I'm going for. And in my case, um I have some purple pheasant rump patch. But you could go with black. Anything you could go with schlappen. Any like you want a webbier but longer hackle than what you have.
Well then, that's a good question. What do I have? What do we have here?
So in my case, you see that this is just ring neck rump, but see how long those fibers are.
Yeah, I
And when
don't
I put on
sticking out on me, but you know what?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's ring neck. See, I just use that, but I had purple.
Okay,
It's dyed purple.
beauty. So find one that's out to me that makes me feel like
Yeah, something that's going to be longer than your body hackle.
yeah. Okay.
And if you got those blue ones in there, any of those blue feathers that are in a ring neck, those will work sweet.
Negatory. Oh, there's some fucking feathers.
But if you got a natural one of the brown ones, it's all good.
Yeah, I'm not going to. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So how am I prepping this feather? So that's my tip, and I'm pulling off all this stuff.
So yeah, you want to keep, where you want to get the fluff off first of all. I don't like the fluff much. So when you get down to the fibers, because that's going to be, you got to think your last wrap. That's how, the length of those fibers are going to be.
Okay.
And on collars, I typically only go, 3 to 5 turns.
Mm-hmm.
You're not trying to get a lot of buildup. You're just kind of adding depth to your fly and kind of the hell is it called? You're kind of adding bulk, but without adding bulk. You're kind of adding the illusion of bulk.
Mm-hmm. And so I lay it down on the top, just straight back kind of thing. Kind of looks like
Yeah.
that.
And then we're gonna wrap it just like a hackle. I wrap a few threads, tie it down. And in your case, you're still using the GSP.
Yeah.
Right now is when I would switch to my other thread.
So I'd wrap that maybe twice and then switch to my other thread.
Yeah,
Okay. Would you go 70 or 140?
70.
I'm going to use red because you're there. So
I love red. Redheads are something about a redheaded fly. My grandpa, one of the things he always told me was always put just a touch of red somewhere on the fly. A lot of times I just put it at the head.
fair enough. Yeah, I only have one one bobbin holder that I really like, so I use my
Oh, gotcha.
tackle pliers to switch it out. So
I do the same.
don't lose that tension. Gotta have tension.
That's right.
Not too much, but just the right amount.
Thread control, man. It's thread control.
All right. Then you just tie it in like you would tie in your next
Yep.
anything.
Well, you use your thread. I always tie it in with my thread, so I would have left my
Just hang.
tackle pliers. Yep, and then just tie it in.
Okay.
Once you get like 2 or 3 wraps over the other thread, you're good.
Okay. Nothing like tying a classic to make you feel like it's your first day tying.
Man, as long as you're learning, that's the one thing I'm always learning and improving. Always.
All right. There we go. Bit more than a few wraps, but that's okay.
Yeah, that's all good.
This is not going to be a showpiece fly. This is just that learning fly.
That's how you get to the showpiece flies.
Yeah.
Just learn.
Okay.
Yeah. Now trim off your front. Yep. You're
Okay.
there. You go.
I want to just bring this up to the right behind there. And then I could have probably given myself a little bit more space.
That's all right.
I think it'll.
Yeah. Oh, you're crowding the head
Uh, we're
a little bit.
in the vicinity of crowding the head, but there's still actually a little bit of room, so I'm not feeling too bad about it.
No. So now it's kind of the same thing. I just kind of fold that feather. It's easier with the pheasant than it is with the hackle to kind of fold it to where you got everything laying back.
Hmm. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I can see it like definitely wants to lay down when you rub it.
Yeah.
When you touch it the right way, it wants to do it. Which is really nice. When a hackle wants to do what you're trying to do,
Yep.
that's a good feeling. All right. This is starting to shape up though. I don't know how this whole listening to people tie flies is going to really work out, but what's really cool to me is that now it'll be on YouTube. Um, so if someone is listening and then decides they want to watch what we're doing,
Yeah.
it's there.
And yeah. It helps them be better, man. If that's I didn't get to where I was without a lot of help from a lot of people.
Hmm.
I didn't.
That's looking dirty.
So I mean, literally, you could end the fly right there.
Should probably quit.
I
Will
mean, if you,
no.
well, you know what I mean. Like, but
Yeah,
the next thing I did is I added a couple just hackle tip wings.
I have a bad habit. Like I just covered everything. Is that a bad habit to like work your?
Cover your stem.
Yeah.
No, that's a good habit
Yeah.
because if it breaks, it's still all going to be there. If that stem breaks, that stem's everything.
Hmm.
So I kind of do the same thing. I just don't cover up. I kind of cover up 1 or 2 turns of the stem, but not all of it of your collar. And this fly, kind of my idea behind it was have that inner glow and everything. So I don't want to add a big, like super thick, bulky wing. So I want kind of a thin, sparse wing. That that body hackle is going to have a lot of lift.
Mm.
No matter what we do, that's just natural because it's got so much drag. Anything that really stands, like a hackle that really stands up, has lift. If that hackle, the good part about it is in what we use, it's very thin, so it's going to collapse very easy. Guess what? Wait till you see this in the water. It's going to have all kinds of subtle movements that you didn't really see. That the hackle adds a bulkiness, so it looks like there's a lot there, but there's really not. So you're doing two things there. You're adding a lot of visual enticement to the fly, but you're also adding, by by having it very sparsely tied, you're going to have it to where it's going to sink and fish as deep as it possibly can.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like you have all the a lot of a bulky fly doesn't need to necessarily need to be tied bulky. It just has to have the appearance of bulk. So like when I do dubbings and stuff like that, if this was a dub body fly and you have just a rib through it, I really pick out the dubbing. I really pick it out because all that is when it's super sparse and comes off the fly, it adds a lot of bulk, but there's really not a lot of bulk, so that fly will fish right. Hope that makes sense.
Hmm.
You're adding a really buggy look to it, a lot of movement and lifelikeness to the fly, but you're not adding a lot of bulk to where the fly isn't so bulky that it lifts up
Yeah.
or does, it's going to be fishing right. That's what was kind of going for with this fly. Like I said, too, I don't know if you can see these. Like I'm doing super thin, but I always do when I do hackle tip wings, I do 4.
Oh. Even if mine have a curve to it, because I have another one that's straighter pieces.
You want to like a curve on it's not bad, but you just want to have opposite curves.
Hmm. These ones are
So
they're
so like if you're looking at your fly and your vise right now,
yeah.
you want that wing to curve down,
Yeah.
and the same with the backside. You kind of always want that. So like in my case, like this feather, see I have some feathers that curve this way, and
Mhm.
these feathers curve that way.
So you want 2 of each?
Yep.
I don't know if I got 2 of each, but
As close as you can get. Even if you can find one, but one is okay.
actually, I guess this purple. No, we're going to pretend we have that, and we're just going to stick with the. Because I guess you want 2 on one side that curve to the one side, and 2 on the other side that curve to the other.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, they're going to be in the market for more grizzly now.
It goes the same with any hackle tip wings too.
It's tough.
So typically, like if you're doing hackle tip wings, I always buy necks.
Because then you get both sides.
Yeah.
Mm, okay.
See, so like this is a neck skin. This side will naturally curve this way, and this side will naturally curve that way.
Yeah. Me and my friend went half on half, so he has the other half that I need.
Right. You're right.
We won't call him names.
No, I get it, buddy. I get it. I just, they have a big fly tying show every year down here in Oregon and Albany, and we tie on it every year. And I went down last year, and I was tying acroids, and forgot an orange hackle. You kind of have to have an orange hackle to tie that fly. And I ran out. My buddy Joel was there, and he was tying something different, but he happened to have an old orange hackle. I still got it. He dyed it and everything, but it's the most gorgeous orange freaking hackle ever. But he's still pissed at me. He's like, "Dude, I thought I lost that." And I'm like, "No, I got it. I got it over here. You gotta come get it, buddy, because I ain't giving it back."
Yeah. Out of my cold dead. What?
Yeah. So when you get your hackles, I both sides. So I have 4 hackles here,
Yeah.
and I make sure the tips are all even. That's your most important part. So then I grab it a little ways before, and now I'm right now I'm gauging where I want those tips to ride.
Just to be
So
clear, I put 2 one way and 2 the other way. All together.
correct. Yep.
All right.
Then you even out the tips. So typically what I do is I lay like my front side wings, I get these tips even. Then my far side wings, I get those 2 tips even, and then I put them together, and then I even all 4 tips.
This is where.
If you can see that.
Yeah, see, mine don't want to do what yours are doing, but I'll pretend they are.
Okay. In the water, it won't matter, but it really won't. And actually, after you swim it for, you know, a day, it'll look absolutely gorgeous, like you meant to tie it in that way.
Mm,
But hackle tip wings are awesome because they move so much.
mm.
And when you have 4 wings up on top, one that's adding that lift on the top of your fly to where your hook bend floats down, so all your lifts right there.
Oh. Oh, there we go. Hey.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
you did it.
So now you want to grab them a little bit below where you want to tie them in. So now I kind of gauge.
How far back do you think I want it? Sorry, I was in the mid.
That's where I'm going next. Is like my tips? I basically want to be even with that my tail or just a touch forward. I mean, certain flies you're going to want them to be longer than your tail. But in my case, where I'm looking at this fly, where I like my hackle tips to sit, it's just right at that tip of my tail or just a little bit below before it. So what I do now is so I gauge that. So like I said, I think our vise is the same. I get all my stems in line in this hand. I get it where I want, or pretty damn close. And I come in here and grab with this hand. Now I'm gonna.
Rip everything.
Now I'm gonna. Yep. Rip all that shit off. So I'm to where I'm just got the stems. And you got to be careful because if you don't hold it tight, you'll uneven those tips up and you'll be pissed.
Yeah, but it's square one. Probably looking for new hackles too at that point.
It can happen
Yeah.
for sure.
I just need my poker to pull out the fibers I can't that are in my finger that I want out.
Right. Sometimes you got to do that for sure. And then what I do too, like you don't have to rip a shit ton off, but I like to get like an inch or two of just, and then I'll cut it.
Yeah.
So I ain't got to deal with all that bullshit on the end.
Mm-hmm. You can almost cut it and then also keep it
Yeah,
if need be.
for sure.
Get out of there. You know?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm feeling pretty good about that. Once it's my 10,000th time doing this, I'm sure I'll be the best, but for now.
Yeah. It just takes some time. Like I said, it's learning. So you got your your hackle tips like that.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm gonna grab the back of it, and as you can see, all my stems are condensed.
Yeah.
So now what I do is I'm gonna take my finger,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna grab it here, and then I'm gonna use my thumbnail here, and I'm gonna fold it. I'm gonna put a little crink in there, and I'm gonna keep crinking, and I'm gonna go up into the actual hackle fibers, just a couple kinks. See what I'm doing?
So we're trying to kink it so the feather, like I have it here.
So I know, can you kind of see that? So now how I'm holding it, there's a kink right in here.
Mm-hmm.
That what's that's doing is allowing that feather when you tie it in to lay super tight to the body.
Okay.
Now this is the freaking hardest part. Is once you kind of get that kink in there, you grab your wings, even tips, back up in the stems, and now what I do is I do the same thing as like before. Is I turn my fly to where I'm looking right down my hook shank. I'm going to grab those and I'm going to do all your stems. Like you kind of want it to be your far side of your wing. Those two hackles that are supposed to be over there, those two stems ride on that side of the eye, and the two hackle stems that are on your near wing ride on the inside of the eye. Does that make sense?
100%. Easier said than done, I would assume, but
Yeah. It takes just a little bit of prep. Once you get them over that or close to it, I do a soft loop and I tighten it down and I do 1, 2, 3, 4, and I see where they're at. Once I get them there, dude, I can really grab them and move them to where they lay how I want them to lay. But they didn't lay the way I want them to lay, which is normal.
okay, yeah, mine are doing some freaking,
Funky shit.
yeah, super funky shit. Oh, I think somehow in the mitts, my, uh, there we go, ish. I don't know if I'm going to fucking be able to get much better than that. That's Chikaz. Dude, that's pretty fucking deadly. It's doing it ish.
That's what you want.
Always room for improvement. There's one hackle that like bows out of the pile.
Yeah.
I don't think
Once they get wet, it'll look good.
mhm. Well, that did it. Holy shit, that's pretty damn perfect for not being perfect. Yeah, okay. Okay.
That's what I like to hear.
Yeah, so you do play with your shit a lot. You're like definitely. Oh, that worked even. And then once you think you got it where you want it, you're see now
I know.
looking at my flies and like the feathers kind of tilted. All of them are tilted a little bit to the
Yeah. Center.
well, no, instead of being like flat straight on, they're all like just off,
Yeah.
like, tilted. So if I just keep playing with that, oh, I pulled it a little bit. Oh, it's no fun one. Stop.
You can, I mean, and another thing, you don't have to set them all at once. I like to set them all at once because I just think a lot of times it's easier, but you can set one side and then set the other too. You know what I mean?
Mm. Oh, okay. So I was having that tilt where the if you looked straight up and down from the top view,
Mm-hmm.
looked from the top view, they all kiltered to one side, and I literally grabbed all the stems and rotated it, and now it's
Yep. Perfect.
now it's as perfect as I think I can get this.
That's where you want it to be.
Oh no, there's one. So if there's one, like now I don't know if you can see that, but one is sticking out to the left.
You can grab that as long as you're tied at your head.
Pull it out and put it back onto the
You can kind of just bend it as you need it to, you know, like if it's cockeyed this way, you can grab it, tilt it up, and then pull it down and back and get it to where you want it to be.
hmm. Oh, just literally moved it to the other side. Done.
It can be, yeah. And I don't know if you can see the top of this. I kind of grab the two that are on each side and I kind of separate them. So I got my two on the far side and two on the inside. I'll kind of split them like that, like a V when you're looking down at the top.
Okay.
And then I'll stroke them back into place like this. You know what I mean?
Curve them back in. So I did notice my tips will go a little bit past the tail now, but I don't think I'm that butthurt.
That's all right. You just don't want them to be super long. When you put stuff really far past the tail, you just have it has the tendency. Sorry, my phone said that I'm at 20%, which is all good. But when you have the tendency to go really past that hook point, if it's super long, when you're casting, it'll wrap up in your hook.
Oh yeah. No, this is like
If it's not very far, it ain't gonna do nothing.
barely an eighth.
Yeah. Let's see if there we go. That's all she wrote.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty satisfied considering it's my first one on this, and it's freaking doing good. I might not even fish this tomorrow. I might just tie another one and
Oh yeah.
keep it as a memory. Okay, now I can
And
cut
then,
the stems off.
yep. Now you just start shaping your head. That's it. Yeah.
Now, in shaping our head, holy shit, that's pretty fucking on it. When we're shaping the head, is there anything I'm trying to do, or we're just trying to have a nice, clean, almost like a cone?
Yeah. Exactly. Mine, I always kind of do a bead or like make it look like a little egg. That's just my personal preference. But yeah, cone is very,
Traditional.
yeah.
Now, as we're wrapping up our heads here, I guess we're also kind of wrapping up the podcast. But I definitely appreciate all the time you've given me on this.
No problem, man. I enjoyed the hell out of it.
Yeah, I would definitely be willing to do this again.
Let me know when, brother.
Right on.
It's like, yeah. And I don't do a whip finish with the tool.
Okay.
I use my fingers.
I actually recently sat down with myself to figure out because I was like, I can do it with my fingers. I know
Do you know why I do it with my fingers?
because you're more precise. I don't know.
Exactly. Yep. It's that thread control. I think sometimes the whip finish, you'll add a really bulky spot to your head and you don't like it, and then I can control where every wrap goes. I typically do two. That's just what I do. Timer off and go.
Maybe I'll just go to the tool. I ain't trying to prove a point right now. What point do I have to prove?
It's just preference. I never, when I learned how to tie, I learned how to whip finish with my fingers. So I've never had a tool. I probably couldn't use the tool.
I taught a class on like salmon flies, just like super, like a handlebar, like super simple, just to
Hmm.
have, like talk a little bit and whatnot, and it was a lot of fun. But oh, even the oil from oh no, there's a bit of black paint on my whip finisher, and it definitely tarnished my head a little bit. I'm not caring that much, but someone out there will see it and they'll laugh.
Fish won't
Fish
give a shit.
same
Fish won't give a shit.
same reason why I haven't cut my hair in a while. Fish don't
Me
care.
too, man. I almost did before we did this video. I almost shaved and trimmed up. I was like, fuck that. Cold. Oh, it's cold here.
You get what you get.
You know.
Oh man, actually, ooh,
What kind of glue you use?
We use this vineyard sealer, vanish clear stuff. I don't know. It's what I use.
Celear.
Clear.
You got Celear?
Yes.
Fucker. That's the best shit there is.
Well, we have. Can you get it at your stores?
I have a bunch coming to me. I just gave my last bottle away and I didn't realize I gave it away. I thought I had another bottle or two. So right now I'm using that hardest hole penetrator, which is very close to Celear. It just when once you open it, it thickens up way quicker than Celear. I don't want a thick head cement.
No.
I want like as you see, I've already done a round once, and I like to do at least 2 or 3 times of just super fine coats that really suck way down in. Like when you turn the fly, you should see your thread wraps. And that's letting that glue get way down in the head.
Well, I guess it also kind of like once you've got everything positioned to those hackles that we're using will kind of get a little bit of glue on them and all
Yep.
kind of hold.
Yep. It all that when you use either the Celear or this hardest hole penetrator, you can really tell like it just wrapping it once, like I said, like doing real thin coats, it sucks it in so much that when you can see your thread wraps in the glue, you know it's getting down in there.
Man, I'm proud of this fly. It looks deadly.
Sure, it will be.
Now, would you ever fish this in dark, well, not muddy water, but harder viz? What do you do for like a harder viz day? Like tomorrow, I'm going to definitely be seeing less visibility in the water. Would you still fish?
It depends. It really depends, man. I don't. I never go to a river assuming a fly.
Fair enough.
I wait, dude. I got more than I can ever fish. So I always let what I'm feeling.
Yeah, when you open the box and you look at
Yeah,
it,
and well, I'll stand on the river and look at it, depending on it. One thing I can tell you, there's one place where this fly in particular, especially with the silver body but dark profile, everything, where it's really going to stand out and do really well is clear water.
Yeah.
This fly is going to be definitely a kick-ass fly in clear water because it's not a lot of shine, but I mean, it's a very natural, thin. It's nothing overbearing about this fly. There's nothing super flashy about it, you know. But if I could see this fly 3 feet away or a foot and a half away, anywhere from a foot and a half to 3 feet, I'd fish it if I felt a little bit of confidence. But if I only literally got a foot and a half of visibility, but no, I'm not gonna. I'm gonna want something big. Um, I'm assuming Vancouver Island, you got to be close to the coast. So, like, if your waters start turning, if they're brown, you're fucked.
Yeah.
But if you got any kind of steelhead green to it and have fish in any kind of dude, if they're there and they see anything, they're gonna fucking grab it. Like that's the most. There's nothing truer that I've ever felt about, man, is when I can um when I got a nice steelhead greeny fucking water. And honestly, where I like to fish and where most of the fish are, like doesn't matter the river level or whatever. But dude, like if you start walking out in steelhead green water, you can see the bottom, so you can see the bottom, you can see the bottom, and right at that edge where you can't see the bottom, that's where they're all gonna fucking be coming. I'm telling you. I've got millions of them. And I've watched guys where you like. I remember we were anchored up in a drift boat a couple years ago with me and a couple buddies, and it was a nice steelhead green water. And I put the boat up, and it was maybe 3 feet from the boat. You couldn't see the bottom, and everybody was bombing to the other side because that's normally where they catch steelhead. And I was like, "You motherfucker!" I go watch. I looked real at my buddy. I go, "Jay, watch this," and I casted 6 feet in front of the boat and dropped it down and pink, pink fish on. He's like, "You motherfucker!" How? I go, "But they're steelhead. They're traveling the path of least resistance. That's the inside current. That's as long as you can't see them, they can't see you. That's where they're going to be. That's a huge, huge advantage. So, like a fly like that, like this, would work really well in that type of situation. But when you like are literally searching, um, high shitty water, you got to go big. You just got to.
Yeah.
You have to elicit a mean nasty take. You're not getting the the soft subtle. You will get a soft subtle take, but I mean you just got to be fishing something that's going to get something aggressive. Where because what I found in rivers pushing a lot of water, the fish aren't feeding. Still, don't eat anyways. Salmon don't eat anyways. At least on our rivers. On a coastal system, I'm lucky enough on like if I go to Eastern Oregon and fish way east where those fish have traveled fucking 300-400 miles to get to where they're going, they turn back into trout. They're the grabbiest fish. They're completely different fish than right out of the ocean fresh. You're going for they're two different animals. You're just trying to elicit a grab. So in big dark water, fish are moving a lot. You got to piss them off to get them to grab. They're not grabbing out of what the hell is it? They're not grabbing out of curiosity or any other thing or old habits or anything. You got to piss them off. You just got to. Um, and if they're not pissed off, they're not going to grab. That's just what I've found with um, high water
Yeah.
and moving fish.
Fuck, man, that is probably the most on point fly. Like just looking down at it, it's just so, oh, it's mint. And it could be improved, which is the coolest part. Is like I can tell where I could have probably put in a little more effort, or like now I have the knowledge or more knowledge. Like,
Mhm.
but it's like looking from the very top, just straight down. I can't see the hook. I can't even see the tinsel because of the feather.
There you go.
Side.
See how I did? See how I did my wing looking down the top?
Yeah, see, I don't have that going. I have a straight.
No, that's all right. No,
Yeah,
that's fine. You'll get it. You can do that with your fly right now. Is you grab the two on the one side and you just pull down like this, and you grab two on their side, pull down, and split them, and then you just kind of comb them back together.
Okay.
I only like that. What you have is perfect. I only like that because when they're not tight touching like this, when they're split like this, they move a little bit. They have a little bit more room to move.
Mm. I feel like
Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah. I do want to get
On your first one, just learn, brother. That you know what I mean. Dude, there's way more techniques. I set feathers, and sometimes you get one that just fucking won't. You could tip your needle in there, and you can bend that. There's so much to manipulating these feathers that people don't often know. But if I wanted these to ride lower, I could take my needle point. Well, I got this hook in the vise, and they're not sitting right. I can take the tip of my needle, go in here and grab this and recurve them.
Mm.
See what I'm saying? Like you can really, there's a lot to it to be able to manipulate these feathers the way you want them. I just want them on top, and I want them to have a lot of dance. I'm always a guy that those wings are going to move, but they're not going to just like be like all this, like all over the place. They're just going to be just subtle movements up here. They add a super lifelikeness to this fly.
Yeah. No.
That's what I want. Subtle movement is what I want. The next thing you're looking at is color. And I don't care what anybody says. I don't know why in certain rivers the goddamn pink and purple fly work better than anything else, and we go 10 miles the other way and they fucking want a green butt skunk. They're just it's the way it goes, brother. But but fishing a fly you have a ton of confidence in is everything. So like this fly right here, Steelhead Love Purple, it's got a nice, Tinsel body, so it's got enough flash, enough pizzazz to grab attention. It's going to fish just fine, and it's sparse. It's going to sink and fish well.
Fuck, that looks good.
Look, yeah, brother. That's what matters more than anything. You like it, fish it, and I guarantee you, if you catch a fish on it, you'll remember it.
I feel like I already remember it.
You know what I mean? That's what it's about.
Well,
I come to the tying bench and when I tie steelhead flies and I'm sitting here doing this and bullshitting with you, it reconnects me to a time when I was on the river. I can't be on the river right now. This is as close as I can be. Fuck it. I'm gonna have fun doing it.
yeah, 100%. Well, Jason, I'm supposed to go fishing tomorrow. When my friend and realizes that I was supposed to go fishing with him and I stayed up this late, he's going to be like, "What are you doing?" But
yeah, you're all good. You're all good, brother.
The second it wakes or that alarm will go off, I'll be as wired as ever, so it doesn't matter.
Hell yeah, brother.
Yeah.
Well, send me some pictures. Let me know how you do.
Yeah, I actually tagged you in a little post thing, but
hell yeah.
We'll see it. I'll take a few more photos, but yeah, no, I really had so much fun doing this, and like, not only did I learn a lot, but I feel like a lot of people will get a little bit out of that as well. So I'm so surprised how well this turned out, but I guess obviously with a bit of knowledge and a bit of effort and a couple of hours.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, like I said, man, it's one of those things too. I get a lot of my buddies give me shit because I like it. We'll go on live and my phone will die and I haven't even got to the caller and they're like, "Miller, where's your fly?" And I'm like, "Here it is. I'll show them a picture later." But I just take my time. I enjoy it. You get out of this what you put into it. If you're willing to put a lot of yourself into it and a lot of time and an effort, at least when I do that, I get so much more out of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's my perspective. I don't try to rush anything. I do what I feel. This is a release to me. This is my relaxation. And when I'm tying these and I'm talking with you and talking with other people, it like I said, it connects me back to what I love to do. And it puts it. I can tying this fly. I can literally in my mind see a perfect run where I want to put this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I 100% do.
So it's just a way to reconnect with all the things that we love to do, and I love steelhead fishing. If this gets me as close to steelhead fishing as I can be today, hey, that's where I'm at.
And that's beautiful. All right, Jason. Well, yeah, I got to go. You have a great
night, brother.
And we will.
You too, brother.
Cheers.
Oh yeah. Have a good night, Andrew. Have a good night.
Bye.